Peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Again this year, we at Cromwell Media are proud to support the American Cancer Society and the Coaches vs. Cancer Initiative. Over the years, Coaches vs. Cancer has raised $135 million to help support life-saving cancer research. Our Tennessee college basketball coaches are coming together today to do their part in fighting back. To make a donation to help support the 2022 Coaches vs. Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic or to find out more information on how to get involved in 2023, please visit coachesversuscancertn.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Superspeedway, a winner.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. We are out here today supporting our friends at Coaches vs. Cancer. That's right, the American Cancer Society, and we are hanging out at the Tennessee Golf Classic at the Golf Club of Tennessee. So we are really excited to be here. Our buddy Sean Farnham is out there playing right now. They raised a bunch of money last night, and Sean Farnham and the Tennessee college basketball coaches have come together to do their part in fighting back. And so to make a donation, Coaches vs. Cancer has raised over $135 million to help support life-saving cancer research. To make a donation to help support the 2022 Coaches vs. Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic, or to find out more information, please visit Coaches vs. Cancer TN.com. Again, Coaches vs. Cancer TN.com. And of course, that's a big thing that we're behind every year. So we're glad to be out here and do it. So I want to start on this. So I'm reading Peter King this morning, Football Morning in America. I think Peter King's got one of the cushiest jobs in America. You write one column a week and then do however many radio podcast interviews you want to do. Nobody's telling you what you have to do. Do whatever you want to do, and you get all the access in the world because you're Peter King. And you have to remember that Peter King gets all the access in the world because Peter King puts out lists like this that people absolutely want to be on. The 22 most influential people in the NFL. Now, here's what it's his list, not my list, not whatever. But I did want to see what this was about. And I think, and this goes back to the fact that the Titans usually aren't considered when we're talking much about the national landscape of the NFL. But I think it goes beyond this when I looked at this list. So, like, Roger Goodell is number one. Makes sense.
That would make sense.
But I think there's a difference when we're talking about what's influential to the league. Peter King puts a lot of these random ones in here, like the vice president of global sports video for Amazon. Well, Amazon's getting one game a week in their Thursday night package. They're getting 15 games for the season, and they're going to have some new extravagant pregame show that's supposed to be like College Game Day for the NFL. I'm not sure how much that influences the NFL.
I don't know. I mean, that's a major change in the landscape of the NFL, of NFL broadcasting.
But it's not. But it doesn't influence the NFL. Like the NFL, it's not like the NFL is going to say, well, this worked out. Let's pull Fox and CBS. And again, we're talking about now.
No, but it's a new player in the game.
And Amazon can go get somebody else to be the vice president of whatever. And so Personally, I don't see that as influential. But what I am shocked by is that Derrick Henry is not on this list. And I'm going to tell you why. Who was the single most influential person in the NFL last season? Take a guess.
Coach or player?
Person. Anybody?
I don't know.
Ian, take a guess.
Brady?
Nope. Give you one more.
Watson?
Nope. I'm going to say it was Matthew Stafford. See, I believe that the NFL is a total copycat league, as is really everything in life. You see somebody do something well, and you try to emulate that because, hey, they've had success doing that, so let me go do this, and let me have success too. Alabama wins a bunch of college championships. Let me go hire Alabama coaches to come in and coach, because if they get out there and we can get Nick Saban and we can be just like Alabama, and that's what Georgia did and it worked. Tennessee tried it, didn't work for them. But that's kind of how everybody is. And so when the Rams won the Super Bowl last year, it validated everything that they did. So that when the Raiders trade their picks for Devontae Adams, or the Dolphins trade their picks for Tyreek Hill, or the Broncos trade their picks for Russell Wilson, everybody's like, that's a good idea because it worked for the Rams. Who cares about that? How much talk did we have during the draft process about half the teams in the league don't have a first-round pick, and the other half of the teams in the league have two? And it was all about, hey, you realize you got to go for it. The Rams went for it, and they won. And nobody brings up the fact that if Jaquiski Tartt intercepts the football in the NFC Championship game, the Rams don't win, and we look at that as a failure.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He didn't, and they won. And now everybody's like, let's do it, including me, because I get to, look at Tannehill and say, all right, this is where Derrick Henry comes into play. I believe that most people that are decision-making for the 32 clubs, whether they're owners, general managers, presidents, whatever their title is, I think the majority believes you cannot win in this league with a running back. That they look at that position and they say, Derrick Henry is great. I wish I had Derrick Henry on my team. Derrick Henry is a 2,000-yard rusher. Derrick Henry, all these things. And then they look at you and they'd say, and what has Tennessee won with Derrick Henry? What have they won with him? This is a copycat league. Everybody for years tried to copy Belichick. You don't see as much Belichick copying now as you used to. I know McDaniels got a job, but the whole thing McDaniels is telling everybody right now with the Raiders is, I'm trying to not be like Belichick. But for years it was, I got to get this Belichick coach. Eric Mangini and Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss and Bill O'Brien and Josh McDaniels the first time, and Matt Patricia. And even the Titans, they went out and got a Belichick guy, even though he wasn't a Belichick coach. They went out and got a Belichick guy. And now we don't see that as much. So it's a copycat league. And again, I think everybody looks at the running back position outside of two teams that happen to play in the same division, Tennessee and Indianapolis, and everybody is convinced you can't win with a running back. I think another reason Derrick Henry should probably be on this list is because if Derrick Henry can rush for 2,000 yards again and is the same old Derrick Henry, I feel confident that the Titans are going right back to the top of the league. If you told me today that Derrick Henry rushes for 2,000 yards this upcoming season, and remember there's a 17th game, but if you told me he rushes for 2,000 yards and is the same old Derrick Henry, I think the Tennessee Titans are going right back to the top of the league. Well, that's influential for somebody, because if Indianapolis loses the division again, sounds like there's a pretty good chance Frank Wright and Chris Ballard are getting fired. If Tennessee wins the division and gets to the AFC Championship game, that means that the Denver Broncos, who went all in for Russell Wilson, probably aren't getting there. That means that all these teams that are gearing up, Lamar Jackson doesn't have a contract. If the Titans go out there and beat the Ravens in the playoffs again, does Baltimore look at Lamar and say, hey, we really can't get that far, and he wants a Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract. Maybe we can't do that. The Titans, when Derrick Henry is on, can take down anybody. They took down the Buffalo Bills last year because of Derrick Henry. They took down Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the Patriots in their last ever game because of Derrick Henry. They took down league MVP Lamar Jackson and the 14-2 Ravens that hadn't trailed since October because of Derrick Henry. And so I mean, there's a lot at stake here when it comes to him. And I'll say it to the other side. What if Derek's done? What if, and I just remember my heart breaking when he got hurt against Indianapolis last year, because you saw the third consecutive league rushing title coming. You saw that he was on pace for 2,000 yards. I mean, the reality to me for Derrick Henry was he was going to end up in the Hall of Fame because of last season. You get 2,000 yards in back-to-back years, you win 3 rushing titles, you're a 3-time All-Pro. It's hard not to put you in the Hall of Fame. And then, whatever postseason success would have followed. And when he lost, I thought, oh, gosh. And when he got hurt, it's like, that's tough. But now you look at Derrick, at least I look at Derrick, and there's a part of me, and I'm a big Derrick Henry fan, as you all remember, let the big dog eat. But there's a legitimate part of me that is worried about the possibility that Derrick Henry won't be back to being Derrick Henry. That what we've seen in the last 2 playoff games, 60 yards against the Ravens and I think 60 yards against the Bengals or whatever it was, that might be who Derrick is. That what would T always call him? A Martian? That the Martian Derrick Henry, the superhuman that can carry the ball 800 times and not have one scratch on him, all of a sudden breaks a toe, and now he's getting up there in age, and we know that running backs don't age well, and Derrick Henry, who knows? And if Derrick Henry doesn't play well, then that could mean serious changes for not just his career, but for Ryan Tannehill's career, for Todd Downing's career. It could mean good things for Frank Reich's career. I mean, I truly believe that when we talk about the most 22 influential people in the NFL, I'm not convinced that the Walmart heir that's about to buy the Denver Broncos has more influence in the game of football right now than Derrick Henry. You win a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry, there's going to be a lot of teams that are looking at those Heisman caliber running backs and saying, do we need one of these right now? Because right now, if you were to say to somebody, hey, and who's the best running back right now in college football for next year? Do we have any idea?
I have no idea.
I'm sure, it'll all settle itself out.
Right.
But there's going to be a running back out there that's like competing for the Heisman, and it's like, oh my God, have you seen this guy? He's the first running back since Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State to do whatever he did. That teams are going to say, right now, teams would say, oh, yeah, no, you can't take him high. Why can't you take him high? Because McCaffrey's always hurt, and Saquon Barkley's always hurt, and Derrick Henry got hurt, and Indianapolis probably ain't going to win a Super Bowl with Jonathan Taylor. So all these great teams with these great running backs, what's it done for them? What's it done for the Cowboys for the 6 years that they've had Ezekiel Elliott? What's it done for them? And that's how everybody in the league thinks. But if the Titans go through the AFC and Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and all of a sudden, they knock off Denver in the first game, and they knock off Buffalo in the second game, and they beat Kansas City in the third game, and they win a Super Bowl because they've been running the ball with Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill hits a couple of throws here and there. There are going to be teams that say, hey, running the ball and playing defense is back. Just like in the NBA. Right now, remember, it used to be a big man's game. When you look at the best players in the NBA from the 1990s, take Michael Jordan out. And everybody else, it's Hakeem Olajuwon, it's Patrick Ewing, it's Charles Barkley, it's Karl Malone, it's all those guys. It's all the big guys. Right now, basketball, who are all the stars? All the little guys. Except for the big guys that play like little guys like Kevin Durant that, he's 7 foot and he shoots the ball. But at some point, the big man's coming back. I don't know when, I don't know why, I don't know how, but it's going to happen. And that's what I thought Derrick was doing to the game of football. And when Derrick beat New England and Baltimore in the playoffs, I really thought that had Derrick Henry beaten the Chiefs and taken the Titans to the Super Bowl, that there would have been a lot of teams around the league prioritizing defense and running. And so Derrick is at this huge fork in his career where he wants a new contract because he wants the money and he really wants the security of getting paid. The Titans don't want to do it. The Titans would love for Derrick to play on the $12 million this year, Derrick to be Derrick, and then play on the $15 million next year. But I think it just, for a bigger picture, for the influence in the NFL, you win a Super Bowl running the ball with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback, there's going to be a lot of teams that say, well, screw paying Aaron Rodgers $50 million. Go get me a guy who's a top 15 quarterback. Go get me a Matt Ryan. Go get me a Matt Stafford. Go get me a Ryan Tannehill. And I'll go get the best running back. And we'll do it this way, and we'll play defense, and we'll put our money here and here and here and not at quarterback. And so when Peter King rolled out the 22 most influential people, Sean McVay, 8, have no problem with that. Aaron Rodgers, 9, no problem with that. And Aaron Rodgers, that's an interesting one to see. Joe Burrow, no problem with that. Daniel Snyder in Washington. What influence does he have? They might kick him out of the league. Now, that might be influential.
And I think
that
that's
they kick him
the
out of the
thing,
league.
is that it's not a positive influential. It's just influential based on what may happen in his future as an owner.
But if they do that, does that change the game? Did it change the NBA when they kicked Donald Sterling out? I don't think it really did.
Does it set a precedent?
About kicking owners out?
Yes.
I mean, the rule's there. They threatened it to Jerry Jones. They did it in the NBA. I mean, to me, no. I mean, I think the big thing is when you talk about influence, how do you change the game? And Derrick Henry, and I think Jonathan Taylor's there too. But I think those guys influence the game. I think that the running back position is incredibly devalued. Who was the first running back off the board this year in the draft? Was it Kenneth Walker or whatever from Michigan State in the second round? I can't even remember.
I don't even know.
I can't even remember who the first running back was. But I'm telling you, I believe that when we talk about when Peter King lists influential, I think it's a complete oversight that Derrick Henry's not on there. And I think that Derrick Henry's influence in the NFL and what it means for his career and everything else will be defined by this year. So let's start there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And is Derrick Henry one of the most 22 influential people? I certainly think he's more influential than Aiden Hutchinson, who he's got on the list as the extra 23rd person. I don't know how Aiden Hutchinson's going to change things, but maybe he's the next J.J. Watt. Who knows? 615-737-1025. Plus, one NFL analyst anticipates no drop-off for Derrick Henry. That's a take. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
The city famous for its music is about to be overwhelmed by the Symphony of Speed. June 24th through 26th, Nashville Super Speedway will host an exciting weekend of NASCAR racing and entertainment featuring the Ally 400 Cup Series race, the Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200. Tickets are going fast, so visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com or call 866-RACE-TIX and brace yourself for some full-throttle fun.
Are you just riding through life, living, but not really living? If that sounds like you need to treat yourself to Cartronics, Nashville's premier one-stop shop for vehicle customization since 1982. Their team of install techs provide a 5-star experience from start to finish, ensuring your vehicle is the coolest ride on the block. From cars and trucks to boats, motorcycles, golf carts, and off-road vehicles, Cartronics specializes in personalizing your automotive experience. So visit their website at cartronics.audio and start living today.
This year, come out for a little outdoor fun at Land Between the Lakes, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I'm appreciative of every journey, every year, and this one definitely was a tough year, definitely different for me, and I was just happy to be able to have the chance to get back and come and contribute. And I miss being with the team. I miss playing ball, and for me to have the opportunity to get back. I'm just thankful for Surgeon Dr. Waldrop, thankful for the people that I work with outside the facility that helped me get back, and God is good, and it's just truly a blessing to be able to have this opportunity.
There you go. That's the big dog, Derrick Henry, at the end of the season last year. Peter King's top 22 most influential players. It's not players. It's like everybody's included. NFLers. Did you see he's got the new guy? Apparently, the NFL has told Schefter that it's not official, but that the guy from Walmart apparently is going to buy the Broncos.
Yeah, I did see that.
So, they'll probably – and now we got probably the two richest owners in the NFL, or two of the richest. I guess
both come from Walmart?
Well, Jerry Jones is like, an Arkansas guy, and the Walmart family, they're in Arkansas, and they're Arkansas guys. And so maybe it'll help Arkansas win some college games. Who knows?
Woo pick.
But I think Derrick should be on there, because I think that Derrick Henry's value to the NFL is – if the Titans win a Super Bowl, and winning a Super Bowl, as depressing as this sounds, remember Charles Barkley said, I don't know when we just started defining careers by championships, but I believe that the right now, if we were to sit down with all the important people in the NFL, whether they're owners or executives or whoever gets to make decisions based upon teams, honestly, it's probably owners. If we sat down with the owners and said, hey, who in here thinks you can win with a running back? How many hands would go up right now?
I don't think very many.
If the Titans win a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry, how many hands will go up whenever you ask the question, can you win the Super Bowl with a running back?
More than 50%.
And that's why I think he's influential. And you can throw Jonathan Taylor, you could say Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, because I'd have to think about every team in the league. I think running the ball is important to a lot of these teams, but not one guy running the ball. Like San Francisco, running the ball is important to them. But they always have a new running back every year, and this is what devalues the running back position, is they always have somebody new that's in there that is running the football. The Titans and the Colts are the two guys that are like, this is our running back. This is our guy. And I just think that the other 30 teams are like, okay, run the ball. And to their credit, I can't think of maybe Emmitt Smith in the 90s as the last time that the team's go-to player, and those Cowboy teams, that was the last dynasty pre-salary cap. And those Cowboy teams were just stacked. And you can't stack it like that anymore. And Jimmy Johnson stacked it, but that might be the last time. Thurman Thomas didn't win championships. I mean, who are all the Hall of Fame running backs of the LaDainian Tomlinson didn't win championships. Adrian Peterson didn't win championships. All these great running backs have not really taken the team to the finish line. And so I think that the owners, it makes sense that they wouldn't see running back as that important. So if Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor can carry their team to a championship, Terrell Davis might be the last guy that really carried his team to the title and they won 2. Then I think it influences the entire game.
I disagree with you just in the context of this list, because I hear where you're coming from, where if Derrick Henry comes back and has a 2,000-plus yard season, then that proves that you can have a running back who is, old for the position that can carry your team, especially if the Titans make a run in the postseason, led by Derrick Henry, because that kind of breaks this new current stigma of running backs. But in the context of this list, very few items on this list have to deal with what happens on the field. Because you talk about influencing the game of football.
Sure.
This is talking about influencing the NFL. And you might raise your eyebrow hearing that. It's the NFL business side of things, not the football side of things. Even when they cite Joe Burrow, it's not because of what he does on the field, and it's not because he was able to get his team to a Super Bowl in the second year. It's just because of how cool Joe Burrow is and how he influences the personality side of the game. They mentioned Lamar Jackson, not because Lamar Jackson hasn't really been able to carry his team through the postseason or what he does on the field, but because he has a new contract coming up. How will that boost quarterback contracts? If he doesn't get the same contract as Deshaun Watson, what does that do for future quarterbacks who might want more? Deshaun Watson is on this list because of his massive contract. How does that change the future of quarterback contracts? How does
Isn't
that change?
My point, though, of why Derek is influential?
It's how Derrick Henry could be influential.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If Derrick Henry and Taylor...
But Derrick Henry doesn't have the personality to be influential to the business side of the NFL. If Derrick Henry does carry the Titans, let's say, to a Super Bowl, yes, that will change how owners look at running backs, owners and GMs view running backs. That will change how running backs are drafted. It'll change how running backs are paid, yes, very much so. But that's all kind of pie in the sky stuff. All of this stuff, Dan Snyder, if he is kicked out of the league, that's something. If he's not kicked out of the league, that's also something. The VP of Amazon, whatever, so-and-so, that changes the consumer model of the NFL. That changes how we view the NFL. It's not just your classic Fox and CBS setup. Now you can stream it. Now it's a different vibe.
Sure.
That changes the NFL as currently constructed.
But see, here's where I disagree with you. If Lamar Jackson plays well, and a running quarterback gets that kind of contract, like Deshaun Watson's contract, that is changing the game.
Yeah.
If he's got Trey Lance at 17, Peter King does on this list, and he writes this, quote, he's on this list talking about Trey Lance ahead of deserving impact guys like Aaron Donald and Tyreek Hill and Kyler Murray and all the filthy rich guys in the broadcast booth because San Francisco has a very good defense and is coming off a 2021 Final Four appearance. I didn't know that was a thing in football. Apparently that's what we're going to call it. I just want the football people to keep this in mind about Lance. He's 22. He threw 318 passes in his college career. So he doesn't really explain why he's on the list. But to me, the reason why Trey Lance is on the list is because if the 49ers have success with Trey Lance, then that's going to tell other people, if you like a quarterback enough to go up and get him, burn through your drafts. Ricky Williams, and this is how the other side of influence. Mike Ditka gave away his entire draft to get up and draft Ricky Williams. The Philadelphia fans booed the Donovan McNabb pick, and I believe the Indianapolis fans booed the Edger and James pick because they wanted Ricky Williams. And Ricky Williams never did anything for the Saints. And now the idea of trading your entire draft for a running back is laughable. The Herschel Walker trade is remembered as a great trade for the Cowboys because Jimmy Johnson went out and got the right guys. He drafted Russell Maryland. He drafted Emmitt Smith. He drafted Darren Woodson. He drafted those guys with those picks. So that's where I look at how the game is played right now. There's three sets. And again, let's talk about 32 owners. Because even the commissioner, who's number one in terms of most influential on Peter King's list, I don't think is the most influential. Because the owner works for the the commissioner works for the 32 owners. So if we're sitting around with the 32 owners, and I said to them, how many of you all think that you can win a championship right now? And I guarantee you that the guys that got Joe Burrow and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and all those guys, their hands would go up. Then the guys that got players that they probably like more than all of us do, like Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray or even maybe Ryan Tannehill, like those hands would go up. But if we're looking over at Detroit, I promise you old Mrs. Ford is not putting her hand in the air, though I think Jared Goff is better than people give him credit for. I mean, Mrs. Ford didn't put her hand up in the air. And that's because the idea right now is you can only win with like an elite quarterback or, if you convince yourself that your guy is better than everybody else thinks your guy is, a la Dak Prescott. I think Dallas thinks he's better than I think he is. Well, this totally changes the game. If Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor literally carry their team to the championship, then I think all those owners' opinions, for the most part, are going to change.
But that's an if.
Well, yeah, but that's the case with all of these guys.
No, because a lot of these people on this list, let's use Trey Lance, for example, because you are saying if Trey Lance just absolutely pops off, that's going to be a message that if you see a quarterback you like, you go for it.
Correct.
But if he doesn't pop off, that's a message that maybe it's not worth the draft picks that you're going to give up. If Derrick Henry pops off, then yeah, that'll be incredibly influential for how the league views running backs in the future. If he doesn't, then that just plays into the same narrative that's been going on for the past few years in the modern day NFL that a running back can't get you there. Therefore, it's not influential.
What? How?
If Derrick Henry comes back from injury and is average, doesn't carry the Titans to a Super Bowl or to the postseason, then that's just playing into what we all know and believe right now.
Right. It confirms the belief, and it almost
therefore
elevates it
is
more.
not influential.
Well,
because I don't think anyone would bat an eye at that.
If it confirms the belief, then it has an influence. That then Amy Adams Strunk, who probably has her hand up in the room when you say, who thinks they can compete for a championship right now, that then her hand probably goes down.
But I don't think anyone else's hands are up.
Let's say right now, Indianapolis' hand is up. I mean, they
didn't even make the postseason last year with Jonathan Taylor.
I know, and they're going to fire the coach and general manager if they don't this year. Like they are. I mean, I was listening to NFL radio today, and NFL radio, I don't want to call it a safe space, but NFL radio is
not very critical.
Well, I mean, they're league partners.
Yeah.
And NFL radio for like the last month has been pumping this idea that Indy's on the hot seat. And so, I mean, I do think that right now, I think there's two owners that firmly believe that their teams are in position to succeed with running backs. Maybe the Titans don't think they can compete. We haven't really talked much about that, but Vrabel's anger, the Treylon Burks trade or the AJ trade, the fact that Adam Schefter said they went after Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not sure I completely believe, but it confirms my initial report, which I like. Maybe the Titans don't think that they can do it, but they're going to try. And Indianapolis is going to try.
Yeah,
and I think Irsay is a big enough kook that he actually thinks that they can win the Super Bowl. But they're going to try. And I'm telling you that if it works, I mean, this is a copycat league, and people are going to copycat that. Whereas, let's use Joe Burrow as an example.
Mm-hmm.
If Joe Burrow wins a championship at Cincinnati, that's not going to change much about the NFL, is it?
Well, he's not on that list because of what he does on the field. He's on that list because of his personality. He's on that. They call him Joe Cool in this list. So that's how he's influenced the league. Because how many Bengals fans did you see wearing those same sunglasses that Joe Burrow wears? Because, yeah, he's a very good quarterback. Yeah, he carried his team to the Super Bowl.
So Peter
but
King
it's not
writes
just
this.
that on the field. It's because of how cool and relaxed and how much swag he has.
He writes this. The reason why I think Burrow has a shot to top the NFL Q ratings is not only his ability and Gen Z appealing fashion sense, but also his attitude. He really has some Joe Namath in him, the ability to play like the ultimate guy, and at the same time having an I could care less what you think of me attitude. I mean, I love Burrow. But I love the game. I love the game. I don't know if Joe Burrow aspires to be the face of the league.
Why would you say that?
Because he's not showy.
He's not showy?
I don't think he's like I find like the guys that are trying to always be like Cam Newton, dancing on the field, getting every endorsement, crying when things don't go his way. I find that is showy. Well,
Joe Burrow just doesn't have that whiny mentality. He's very much so like an old school football mentality that, I'll let my playing do the talking. But he's not showy. I think that is completely off base. I mean, did you see his outfit walking into the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but you know what's crazy about the Burrow outfits? Like, the glasses, they beat the Raiders or he wore those funky glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that gets talked about as much as, like, these, some of the crazy things that, like, the NBA guys are wearing and stuff into the stadium. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just don't care about it. But I don't think it influences the game like his play does. I think he's like Michael Jordan in the sense that Michael Jordan said, hey, my game
I think
does
it's
my
both
talking.
Combined.
And I
think it's the swag. I think it's the
influence I could see with Burrow is I could see teams that are more willing to tank if Burrow is successful, because then it's going to be like, well, the only way we can win is if we get a guy like that. The only way we can get a guy like that is if we stink. But that's just me. Where do your phones on this? 615-737-1025. Plus, the people on this list for Peter King, I think this list kind of sucks. I want to just touch on some of these names on here because I find that just to be laughable. But I think Derrick Henry should be on it. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The back-hander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
IndyCar is back for more. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of music and racing. 3-day tickets are on sale now for as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of action-packed excitement. Don't miss out on this year's biggest party. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy tickets. That's MusicCityGP.com.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman and Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Oh, the NBA Finals are heating up, folks, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexford here to let you know that throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. Bet the money line, spreads, player props, whatever you want to do. You combine those bets, you get an even bigger payday with the same game parlay. I think we're starting to learn here. Steph Curry, a good bet on the points. I would also point out that Jason Tatum is just fine after his Game 1 struggles. With the Draymond Green rebounds and assists, also very good for you there as well. You sign up with promo code Joe102. If you haven't tried FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. The only thing sweeter than watching the finals, cashing in on the finals. So join today. Again, promo code Joe102. Turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is official partner of the NBA. You must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. First line real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now available free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Sixers apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Matthias Ekholm. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Which player will have the most 100-yard rushing games? Marcus, you get first pick here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Derrick Henry here, Matt B. and Lou, and it's because of losing A.J. Brown. Obviously, they leaned heavily into the run game when A.J. was there, but now it'll be more of an emphasis. The last outing we saw, Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions. And I believe when you're a coach like Vrabel, who comes from where he comes from, you get back to doing what football tells you majority of the time, and that's pounding the rock with the big fella. Obviously, health is going to become an issue as you get further along in Derrick Henry's career. But I think this year in particular, it won't be the case. They will feed the big fella, and now not having A.J., it'll be more of an emphasis put on that.
There you go. Swagoo says most 100-yard games this year, Derrick Henry, because A.J. Brown is not there. I think the Titans are going to have to find someone to throw the ball to. I don't think that it's like, well, now that A.J.'s not there, Derrick, you're getting the ball more, because I just got to be honest with you. I mean, at some point you have to throw the football. But that's a different discussion for a different day. Let's go to your phone. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. And we are live today out here at the Coaches vs. Cancer Golf Classic. And to find out more information on how to get involved in 2023 or to donate to Coaches vs. Cancer, which has raised over $135 million in support of life-saving cancer research, go to CoachesVsCancerTN.com. Harmon is going to kick us off today on the influence of Derrick Henry. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Harmon.
Hey, Jared. Your logic is good on Derrick Henry, but the player is wrong. If it's going to be a player, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor, and I'll tell you why. People still look at Derrick Henry as an outlier, almost a freak of nature. you're not going to get a guy like Derrick Henry often, if at all. So Derrick Henry won't cause a lot of teams to go, oh, you know what, we can do that. No, you can't, because you can't get Derrick Henry. You might be able to get a Jonathan Taylor. Now, if Jonathan Taylor does it as the main influence on his team, that's different. But Derrick Henry, no. Who's going to be the next Derrick Henry?
So here's why I will tell you that I think you're wrong. I believe that, I love Derrick Henry. And I think, and I've loved Derrick Henry, and, for years when they were giving the ball to what was the guy who sucked from New England's name?
This year?
No. The running back from New England, who was terrible.
Dion Lewis.
Dion Lewis. When they were giving him the football over Derrick Henry, people forget about this. It was an entire city of people that were okay with Vrabel and Matt LaFleur giving the football to Dion Lewis and David Fluellen over Derrick Henry. And there was one guy who consistently complained about it. Is that a fair assessment, Ian?
I don't know about just one, but.
Well, I complained the most. And so, Derrick Henry's always been kind of trashed on. He went in the second round. Ezekiel Elliott went in the top 5 that year. He went in the second round. And so here's where I think the guy's wrong about the Taylor versus Henry comparison. Derrick Henry is in the middle of his second contract. Jonathan Taylor's in his first. Jonathan Taylor is 23 years old. Derrick Henry is 28. If the Titans win the Super Bowl on the back of Derrick Henry, he will be 29 years old. And I got to believe that right now, even the two hands of the Colts and the Titans, if we're sitting around with the 32 owners, and we're saying, who thinks that you can pay a running back a second contract and pay him $15 million a year on that second contract? Because the cap hit for Derrick's, I think, 15.5 this year. Have $15 million tied up at running back and have that guy carry you to a Super Bowl. I think even those hands go down right now. With Taylor, if he does it, a lot of people say he's a great back, but Terrell Davis was on his first contract and busted his knee up in 1999 and was never good again. Terrell Davis had 4 good seasons in the NFL and is in the Hall of Fame because of it. It wasn't like Terrell Davis was running for 20 years. He wasn't Barry Sanders. And so right now, you look at the logic of the league, and the league will say, hey, yeah, these running backs, they're good. They're good. But they're not like quarterbacks or left tackles. You take a left tackle in the first round, you expect that guy to be there for 12 years. Right now, Taylor Lewan, I believe, is in his 7th or 8th year in the league. That's a long time. Todd Gurley, who was picked a year later, hasn't been in the league for 2 years. And he was a great running back. And that's just because, the running back position is they use you, they beat you, they get rid of you, you move on. Well, not Derrick, not if he wins the Super Bowl. Whereas with Taylor, I do think that Taylor could change the game about how important the running backs are. And I do think Taylor's good. But I think a lot of people say, well, that's his first contract.
And he's the age where you look at, you expect that from a running back.
Yes, 23.
Yes. I think you look at, Adrian Peterson, for example. Nobody's expecting Adrian Peterson to have a 1,500-yard season because he's just old. Mm-hmm. He's an old running back, and he doesn't have a lot of production. I think we've, Titans fans, saw that firsthand this past year. So if Jonathan Taylor does it, that's as expected because he's a dude and he's young. If Derrick Henry does it, that's not necessarily expected, at least outside of Nashville or outside of Titans fans. Nobody expects Derrick Henry to have a 2,000-yard season.
What do we have in the text line?
Andrew texts in and says, can we calm down on anointing King Henry as Hall of Fame bound, the greatest running back in Titans history and a complete game changer until maybe he has as many yards as Chris Johnson?
So, again, I go back to when I talked about the Hall of Fame with Derrick Henry, and that is before he got hurt. I've told this story that I was in Atlanta. The Braves were in the World Series. My dad, me, and my best friend's dad, we were all in Atlanta for the World Series, and we went to a Dave & Buster's in Marietta, and there was nobody at this Dave & Buster's in Marietta. So they put on that giant theater-like screen in this Dave & Buster's, the Titans-Colts game. And we watched the Titans win in overtime, and we were high-fiving, and these other there were 3 other people in the bar. And they were into the game because we were into the game, and so everybody's high-fiving. And I remember walking back into my hotel that night. The Braves were up 3-1 in the World Series. They were clearly going to win. And the Titans had just beaten the Colts to take a commanding lead for the South. And I thought to myself, man, the sports gods have never been this good to me. They have never been this good to me in my life. The next morning, my dad and I are driving back from Atlanta, and the Braves lost Game 5 of the World Series. We're driving back from Atlanta, and we're listening to Robbie and Rexroad. And all of a sudden, they've got Corey Curtis on, and Robbie goes, "We've got breaking news. Adam Schefter reports Derrick Henry is likely out for the season." And I thought, see, the sports
Things
gods.
were going too
I
good.
mean, the sports gods. But part of me was so disappointed, not just for the Titans in that given moment, but it hurt me for Derrick because I do believe that a third rushing title and a second 2,000-yard season, which he was on pace for, and I think he would have got. I mean, you even look at how Hilliard and those guys ran the ball, Foreman, after Henry left, and the numbers were shockingly similar. So you wouldn't have thrown the ball 50 times against the Texans if you'd had Derrick Henry in that game. So Derrick probably would have run for 2,000 yards again. Nobody's ever done that. Nobody's ever rushed for 2,000 yards twice in their NFL career. 3 rushing titles in a row?
But he didn't.
No. I'm talking about, that was the point I was making.
Right.
Was that I felt like Derrick's chances at the Hall of Fame, I don't want to say died right there because he's got a chance this year, but I'm not predicting a 2,000-yard season for Derrick Henry. But I do believe that had Derrick gotten that third rushing title and that second, and I don't know which would have been more important. I mean, both would have gone hand in hand, but I think that would have been enough to push him into Canton. So when I talked about how I'm telling you he was headed to the Hall of Fame when he broke his foot, that's why I believe it, not the, can we stop talking about Hall of Fame now? If Derrick's career was over today, Derrick's not in the Hall of Fame. But, again, Derrick, in the middle of last season, was headed to the Hall of Fame. And that's why I was so hurt for him. And that's what I meant by that. 615-737-1025. Back to your phones on this. 615-737-1025. Plus, Vandy Baseball is getting ready to tip off or first pitch or whatever. Start. Good thing they're not playing here because it is just freaking pouring.
Coming down.
So we'll get to that coming up. You know what's going to be great is we're in the clubhouse right here at the Coaches versus Cancer Golf Classic. I'm going to guess a lot of these guys are going to come in here into the clubhouse. We're going to be talking about NIL and stuff, and I don't give a rat's ass if they hear what I say. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 88 degrees. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible the rest of the day, some of which could be strong to severe.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month. And inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, zero-interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
The body is a machine by itself. Given the right ingredients,
during the right situation, some things can be healed naturally.
Football legend Emmitt Smith learned that pain pills and surgeries are only Band-Aids for chronic joint pain. A smarter, longer-lasting solution? Natural biologic treatments from QC Kinetics.
With QC Kinetics, it's that way. It's that natural process of allowing my body to actually heal itself.
With no downtime and no drugs, QC Kinetics regenerative pain treatments can repair and restore damaged tissue, bringing lasting pain relief in your knees, shoulders, hips, and lower back.
What I like about working with QC Kinetics is the natural aspect of it. The body has a way of reconnecting itself and re-healing itself.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
If you tried other ways, there's a new method.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Crowd looking for the strikeout. Here's the 1-2. Right back up the middle. That one gets through. Diaz will come around to score. Kolwick will score easily. The throw to second, not in time. Javier Vaz with a 2-out, 2 RBI double. Vanderbilt takes a 7-0 lead here in the bottom of the 6th.
How about that for Vandy? I mean, everything looked like it was falling apart when we were getting off the air Friday. And ever since then, they haven't stopped hitting. They are about to play in about, 5 minutes? They're going to have first pitch
3
in Corvallis against Oregon State. So good luck to them. But let me say this about college baseball, and we will discuss college baseball today. I saw somebody put in the text line, will you guys please talk about college baseball? Let me explain something here, people. First of all, I love baseball, and I've been watching college baseball for a long time. But I'm going to say something else. These games take too freaking long. Like college baseball's been entertaining and fun to watch. My team was up 7-3, and now it's 8-7. They're behind, and whatever, But I can't even sit through one of my team's games. These games are like 5 hours long.
5 hours is a little dramatic.
No, like Arkansas played like a 5-hour game the other day, and we're talking about these games are so long, and the ESPN just does not care. Like, they throw the worst announcers out there. I'm watching one of these. They had Roddy Jones calling a game. He's a football guy. That would be like Chris Collinsworth is calling the baseball game. I mean, they had one guy that they're not even on site to call the game. They had one guy's internet went out. He forgot to pay the bill. So the analyst is trying to call the game and do it. He was like, and that's a ball. And
yes, it is a ball indeed. You are right.
And I mean, again, my bigger issue here with college baseball is this. I think Tennessee is kind of entertaining, but the bigger picture is these games just take too long. And I think people, like for my team, I am cool with setting aside like 2.5 to 3 hours for a baseball game. I'm not cool with setting aside 4 hours. And that's what we're getting into right now. Between all the pitching changes and the video reviews.
The
video reviews take forever.
Way too long.
I mean, they take forever. And then, can I tell you what I find to be the most obnoxious thing in watching these college baseball games? See, the tournament for college baseball is very dramatic, wildly entertaining, down to the wire. I mean, it's a lot like college basketball. But the difference is, in college basketball, you got 3 games going on simultaneously, so that if one game is a blowout, the other game might be close, so you flip to that. But these coach interviews, like they have to interview both coaches, and there's like 3 minutes of questions, and it's the same every time, and we don't pitch until the coach interview is over. And it's like, guys, will you hurry up? So, I mean, I'm just trying to help college baseball out here by saying I think that they should go to 7 innings. I think, and the difference between the major leagues and college baseball is college baseball can get away with it without having to admit that the sports games are too boring. Because college can say, we're going to go to 7-inning games. not because the attention span of Americans are shrinking, and for some reason these games are taking longer. I don't know why in the 70s it didn't take so long to finish a baseball game, but apparently now, 50 years later, it's impossible to do within 3 hours. But more so, these college pitchers, they're just too worked, and so what we're going to do by going to 7 innings for the whole season is it's going to decrease the amount of innings that every college pitcher throws, and their arms will be better and in better shape for when they go to the pros.
But then you could argue, well, you're not necessarily setting them up for the most success in the pros because they go from metal bats in 7 innings to 9 innings in wooden bats, so they're not really prepared for the pros.
No. It's the health. The health is, if you pitch less innings, your health is going to be better.
Yes.
So that's we're looking out for all the student athletes. We don't want these guys overworked. We don't want these guys, throwing 38 pitches on a Friday. And again, it's all bullcrap. It's just to get the games down. But instead of having to say, like if Major League Baseball were to come out and they were to say, we're going to go to 7 innings, the admission would basically be that people just can't sit down and watch something like that. And I love baseball. I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. I flipped out last night, the Vols. If it wasn't interesting, I flipped back over to basketball. And I didn't really flip over to watch the Tennessee game last night until basketball got boring. And once that game was over, then I was on. I am a total fraud outside of the Titans and the Predators. And, if there's, a really big basketball game I want to watch or something like that, to where hockey, is that interesting? Okay, all right, I'm watching this. Oh, we got an intermission? Flip it over to something else. Oh, we got that? Flip it over here.
Well, it's easy to do that.
I know, but, if you really love something, you'll watch through it. And there's nothing that's on right now that's worth me flipping through. Or staying with it. I watched a movie yesterday. So I went to the Kenny Chesney concert out in Dallas on Saturday.
Fun.
It was a fun concert. We had a good time. And that stadium is awesome, by the way. We had a great time.
Did it bring you to tears?
The stadium?
Like it brought Jerry to tears?
It did not bring me to tears, but I didn't build it. But we saw our buddy Danny Rader perform, who was fantastic. He's part of Kenny's band.
So fun.
He's actually running the music, I believe, for the CMAs that are coming up, the CMA Fest. But we were out there having a blast out in Dallas. Well, so we fly back first thing on Saturday morning. So I'm back home at 9 o'clock. And I literally just laid in the bed all day yesterday. The bed and the couch were the two areas that
Sunday recovery.
My team was playing college baseball, Louisville. I flipped off our game, watched a movie, and then flipped back to watch our game.
They were still playing?
Yes. These games are taking too long. And I know you like college baseball more than I do. And
I do.
I feel like you want to defend college baseball, but you cannot defend that these games
the games are very long, and especially in a tournament setting when you're playing back to back to back to back, and they're playing 4.5-hour-long games. It's brutal, not just to watch, but I'm sure also to play in as well, to be alert for 4.5, 5 hours. But I would be interested to see what is the average length of game. Because you could say, an Arkansas game lasted 5 hours, and that's going to stick in your head.
Let's pick a random
more
game.
so than the 2.5, 3 hour long games.
NCAA baseball scoreboard. I want you to pick me a random regional.
Okay.
And we'll pick a random game from the random regional.
Auburn Regional.
Okay. Give my phone a second to catch up here.
Okay.
The Auburn Regional, again, it's taking me a little bit of time to load all this stuff. I don't know why. Okay, here you go. Let's see. Let's go to Saturday. And Knoxville, Chapel Hill. Here you go. UCLA and Southeastern Louisiana.
Line up, baby.
Let's see at the bottom if it tells us how long the game took. Attendance, capacity. It has the game information. It has the channel.
You might not want to put how long the game
See if
took.
it's at the bottom of the box.
They probably don't want to record that because the games do last too long. And I do love baseball. I love college baseball. I love the MLB. But I would agree that for both, the games just take too freaking long.
So ESPN doesn't have it. Let's see if the NCAA has it. Again, we're looking at UCLA, Southeastern Louisiana. What do you want to guess, the over-under?
I would say over-under 3.5 hours. I would take the under.
I'll go over.
I would take the under.
And this was apparently a blowout game. Let's see. UCLA Bruins box score. This might give it to us. Let's see. 344.
Ooh, just barely the over.
344. And that game was a blowout. I mean, nobody is sitting down for 3 hours and 44 minutes. That is a flight to California.
But the interesting thing here, too, is the game is so much more interesting whenever the bats are flying. But that makes the game last longer. If you have really great pitching and you go 3 up, 3 down every inning, that makes the game quicker, but it's so much less interesting.
It's tough.
So it's a tough catch-22, no pun intended.
What I want to know is how baseball went from 2.5-hour games to 4-hour games.
Probably the video review, because that's something that didn't exist.
An hour and a half worth of video review?
I mean, it adds up. The video review.
An hour and a half?
The commercial breaks.
They've always had commercials in baseball. I'm talking about Major League Baseball. Like, how in Major League Baseball did we go from the 80s and 2.5-hour games to...
Are commercial breaks longer? Because I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
I don't think they are.
Is it the pitching changes?
I think it's the
reviews.
I think it's the hum babe hum ball. I think it is the guy standing there scratching his you-know-what.
Probably so.
And the next guy's, like, putting his batting gloves together. I think the guys probably take longer to get up to home plate because, God forbid, my song doesn't get to the part that I want when I come up to bat. I think it all has a part of that. 615-737-1025. We'll keep you updated. Good luck to Vanderbilt. Coming up next, the middle finger seen round the country. And by round the country, I mean round the Tri-City area between Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. And why? I don't have a problem with that, but I got a huge problem with something else. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
This is going to be awesome. It's like, yes.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Jared Stillman.
Football season, and then football season becomes hockey season, and then it becomes draft season, and then it becomes hockey playoff season.
And Company.
Maybe this is something to just get people a little bit interested.
It's a matter of not having too many chefs in the kitchen.
Catch Stillman and Company on your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
And I can spot it from a mile away.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
For the love of the climb. For the love of the fall. For the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. And we are live today out here at the Golf Club of Tennessee to support the 2022 Coaches versus Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic. And to find out more information on how to get involved. So all your coaches are out here, your basketball coaches. Sean Farnham, who runs the event, is out here. And to find out more information or to get involved in 2023, please visit coachesversuscancertn.com. We are glad to be out here again hanging out. So last night, I watched Tennessee baseball. Now, last week, I asked the question when they got the number 1 seed in the NCAA baseball tournament, did people in Nashville care? And most people, I think, don't. But I do think it's on TV, and I do think people are watching, and I watched. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not watch every second of those games, and I don't feel like I had to. And I also couldn't tell you who the 7th inning guy is, the 8th inning guy. I now know some of the players. Lipscomb, Gilbert, Ortega.
Jarrell. Big fan of JoJo.
Evan Russell's the catcher. I know that.
You know that now.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone knows Evan Russell now.
I know Drew Beam.
He started yesterday.
And I know they got a guy that throws 105 miles per hour.
Ben Joyce.
Okay. And again, I don't think that discussions of, I think their bullpen looks pretty good. I don't think anybody cares. Outside of like the diehard Tennessee fan who's like glued to the television because it's your team. Because let's not kid ourselves. If it were the Titans or the Predators at the championship level in the playoffs, we'd watch all 4 hours of it and it would go by in 20 minutes.
100%.
But again, I don't think the greater population feels that way. More importantly, there are 2 things that happened over the weekend. One, I do not care about at all. And that was the center fielder, right, for Tennessee?
Either center fielder or right fielder.
Well, he hit the ball to center field. The guy from Georgia Tech, it was essentially the play that changed the game last night.
Mike Concho.
That's not his real name, though, right?
No.
So, anywho.
Jordan Beck is his real name.
The player from Georgia Tech played this ball like a freaking little leaguer. Like, I was embarrassed that he couldn't read the ball off the bat. A very crucial mistake, which I then later saw Arkansas make a similar mistake 5 minutes later. But that's neither here nor there. And so I didn't see this until Twitter brought it up. But apparently, Jordan Beck, as he's rounding first, running for second, sticks his middle finger out and is just giving the guy out in center field the finger.
And also chanting what the middle finger means.
So, I mean, again, sounds like the dude's a little kooky. That's neither here nor there. Sometimes guys like that win. Ever heard of Lenny Dykstra? He won. I have no problem with that. I was listening to Robbie and Rexroad this morning, and they were getting all kinds of texts. Like Vandy Bob was texting and being like, they should ban him for forever. And, UT Charlie was like, that's our guy. That's our guy, whatever. And, again, I think most people don't care. And put me in the group of people that don't care. I doesn't bother me. Now, if I was the commissioner of the SEC, it'd be a little different of how I would have to pretend how I feel about it. But, again, do I really care? No, Tennessee is a team of frat boys, and it is quite interesting to watch. And the coach is a frat boy. He's like the pledge master or whatever the leader position is of the frat boy, the fraternity. And the other guys are all a bunch of frat boys. And that's fine. That's their attitude. It's worked for them. They're good. They're going to win some games.
And when they win games, you can act like that.
Oh, well, hey, you can talk the talk if you can walk the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's what I didn't like. And this is on Friday. And this happened right when we were getting off the air because I think the game started like right when we were getting off the air. But Tennessee's catcher, Evan Russell, did not play Friday. And I remember you telling me that it was an undisclosed reason and Tony Vitello would talk about it after the game. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you have to understand what the internet is in 2022 as compared to what the internet was in 2004. I mean, if you watch episodes of Seinfeld, which ended in 1998, they were talking about the internet. So it's been around for a while now. But there's some places where the internet affects the majority of people more so than other places. And I would say Knoxville, Tennessee, and the Tennessee athletic program, the internet very much gets its way down from the keyboard warriors who, as Charles Barkley says, are sitting in their grandma's basement in their underwear with the chip crumbles on their chests. And somehow, some way, it ends up getting to every coach, player, and administrator at that school. So everybody starts speculating because Tennessee, locked up whatever happened to the catcher. They locked it up in the safe, and nobody was to know until after the game. The coach was going to talk about it. And all of a sudden, Tennessee Twitter goes into this speculation, just rumor churning. We know how this works. We do this. We speculate. And I found that to be so incredibly irresponsible at Tennessee when all they could have done is just said, Evan Russell's out sick today, and we'll have an update after the game. Non-COVID illness, he's out sick. That's all they would have had to say. Now, apparently what happened was his dad came out, I guess, on Twitter and said he's been dealing with anxiety issues. Mm-hmm. And so
the stress, the pressure.
Did he play Saturday or did he just play Sunday?
He played Saturday.
He played Saturday. So he was out Friday, he played Saturday, and he played yesterday, Sunday. Great. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the dad didn't have to do that and whatever. Well, I guess somebody on Twitter, because Twitter's the one place where you can just make stuff up. You ever heard of QAnon?
It's not the one place.
You just make stuff up. And it's like, yep, see? Twitter said it. So I guess, and again, I'm not diving in deep on this, but because Tennessee felt that they had to keep Evan Russell being sick and out for the game, they felt that they had to keep that G14 classified, that all of a sudden, Twitter makes something up. The guys, I've never even heard of these guys who were calling the Stillwater Regional, I believe it was. So ESPN Plus, if you're one of the 13 people watching Arkansas versus whatever, then you would have heard the color analyst on the broadcast say that Evan Russell was suspended for PEDs. Now, that's what the rumor was on Twitter as everybody was speculating because, again, the reason that the guy was out was G14 classified. Not allowed to know, not supposed to know, not supposed to whatever. And I got to be honest with you, I think that they did the kid a disservice by not just releasing at game time. Everybody's got a PR director of releasing at game time. Evan Russell's been scratched with a non-COVID illness. Tony Vitello hopes that he'll be in the lineup on Saturday. All you have to say. And all that goes away. Well, then, again, because the internet fuels apparently everything that happens with the Tennessee Athletic Department, all of a sudden, now, I got off this plane in Dallas on Saturday, and I see the athletic director, Danny White at Tennessee, demanding an apology from ESPN. And I'm like, what the hell did I just miss? And apparently it was that in that Stillwater Regional, which might have been on ESPN 7 or whatever it was, that Stillwater Regional, that the color analyst said that he had been suspended for PEDs. They talked about it like it had happened. It was misinformation. ESPN's color analyst and their broadcast crew shouldn't have gone with it.
It was irresponsible for them to have said that on the broadcast.
It was a bad look.
Yes.
It was something that if we did, I would be disappointed in us. If we were to say...
Especially when you're talking about the integrity of a student athlete.
Yeah. But again, the difference between this year and last year is what? They get paid now. So...
Also, that's not fair. You can't just throw around rumors and claiming them as truth just because he can make money.
Well, I mean, we really can't do that about the NFL either.
No.
But
so why
money.
is it okay that now that he's making money, you can just throw rumors around?
Well, the whole differential of like, now, hey, he's a college kid now. Like, I used to never really believe in saying college kids sucked. But now they're making money, so that's their job.
But you can't make up rumors about NFL players either and go with them as truth.
No, I'm telling you.
You can do that about anyone. That's like irresponsible.
If we did that, I would be disappointed in us.
I would agree.
I would not be happy, and we speculate on everything. But I would not be happy with us.
But we label it as speculation.
But I also, Tennessee should be above that. Like, the athletic director should not be tweeting out, demanding an apology from ESPN because of something that how many people actually knew that they said that in the Stillwater Regional on that broadcast? How many people actually knew that?
I only saw it on Twitter.
I only know it because they made a big deal about it. It's ridiculous. So, again, I don't have a problem. The kid wants to hit the ball to center field, and the Georgia Tech center fielder played it like a friggin' little leaguer. I mean, embarrassing. Georgia Tech should be embarrassed at how they played that ninth inning. They played so scared. I mean, this is the one thing that I talked to an ACC coach today, and he told me that basically that what Georgia Tech did yesterday, Notre Dame's not going to do this weekend. But then again, Notre Dame could probably get scared too. But, I mean, Georgia Tech played that ninth inning scared. I have no problem. I mean, it's kind of classless, but Tennessee's cool with that.
It's classless. I wouldn't endorse any player to do that. And if he has to deal with the personal ramifications, then he can do that.
But what
also,
are the ramifications?
He didn't hurt anyone.
Like, if I'm the commissioner of the league, I'm not suspending the kid.
No.
So,
No.
You can't fine him. So, it's not, I mean, you can reprimand him. Okay, whatever. Like I said, if I was commissioner of the SEC, I probably would be placing a call into Vitello, and I'd probably be like, hey, we're not doing that. Like, you guys push
tell
the
him
envelope.
don't do that in the future.
We're not doing that.
He's a projected first-round pick in the MLB draft. If there's a team that wants to pass on him because they saw him do that, okay, that's his prerogative.
Well, that's not going to happen. I believe that, and you can threaten Vitello a little bit, like, hey, man, like.
Reel it in.
If you guys get out of hand, like, I'm going to suspend you. Like, I already suspended you once for bumping the umpire. Like, so, calm it down. But that's it. Slap on the wrist, whatever.
He didn't hurt anyone.
I don't have a problem with that. The holding the information about the catcher, you don't have to tell everybody that he's dealing with an anxiety issue. You don't have to tell him that he's got the flu. You don't have to tell him that he's got dandruff or Lyme disease or whatever. You don't have to tell them. In fact, shocking, you can't tell them. It's against the law. But you can say, he's out with an illness. It's a non-COVID illness. We hope he's back in the lineup tomorrow.
And that crushes all speculation.
It's over. And I thought that was such a minor league move by Tennessee. Like you're the number 1 seed in the tournament. Your starting catcher is out. And and to now know that it's an anxiety thing, isn't that the last thing you want with a kid dealing with anxiety is to have everybody speculating about why he's not playing? That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, again, Vandy Bob is going to say that we should ban Tennessee from competing because their player stuck his middle finger in the air at the center fielder for Georgia Tech, and I don't believe that. But I thought that was a real lowbrow move by Vitello on Friday to not say that the kid's out sick. I mean, that's
all you have to say.
That's protecting the kid. Instead, what you did was you opened it up, and I'm not defending ESPN either, but to act like you're blameless in this when all you had to say was he was out sick and that it wasn't COVID. Because if somebody's out sick, then they're going to be like, oh, is it COVID? Could there be a COVID outbreak? What's going to happen? So say it's not COVID and move on. That's all they had to do. And they didn't do it. So those are my 2 thoughts on the big 2 subjects that came up this weekend of the Tennessee Regional. I do have a thought on the actual baseball itself. I got 3 takeaways on that. We'll do that, and we'll just get to your phones because, why not? 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and your thoughts on those, go ahead and put them in there as well. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, we are live out here hanging out again at the Coaches vs. Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic, where again, Coaches vs. Cancer has raised over $135 million for cancer research. So again, go to coachesversuscancertn.com. Hey, 102.5 The Game, 106.3 The Game, and 102.9 The Buzz, and the Predators will host a 615-day celebration at Ford Center, Antioch on Wednesday, June 15th that will be benefiting the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. For more details and to bid on silent auction items, visit theGameNashville.com/615-day.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
2-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Don't miss Nashville SC versus San Jose Quakes on Saturday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come on into Geodis Park and get closer, bolder, and colder at Nashville SC's new home. Single match tickets are on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
Tough jobs need tough equipment. For equipment that gets the job done right, elite certified service, and genuine Kubota parts, choose Coleman Tractor Company, Tennessee's largest full-line Kubota dealer. Get hay season done right with a Kubota M7 tractor. User-friendly controls, all-day comfort, powerful versatility. Lease the Kubota M7 for as low as $13,200 annually, now through June 13th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes.
They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient.
Visit driveelectrictn.org to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the East Tennessee Clean Fuels Coalition, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
We've seen who this team is. We've seen that they play this villain role. They love playing this villain role. They really embrace it. It's a us versus everyone, hate us or love us, whatever, we don't care attitude. And that's just another moment reflecting that. You know, it's not great. It's not the best look, but it's, you know, as Beck said after the game, I just kind of blacked out and celebrating kind of thing. And, yeah, it's who this team is. They don't really care what you think about them. And they've kind of taken that on for 2 seasons now. Basically, since Drew Gilbert flipped his bat against Georgia Southern 2 seasons ago, it's kind of been their thing, and they haven't really shied away from it. And last night kind of took it to a different level, I guess.
So there you go. The kid stuck his middle finger in the air, and everybody, you know, whatever, the Tennessee kid. I got to be honest, you heard that was Mike Wilson, who was on Robbie and Retro today, and you heard right there where he said that, you know, I guess this started 2 years ago when Drew Gilbert threw his bat against Georgia Southern. I'm sorry, what? What happened 2 years ago against Georgia Southern? I have no recollection of that happening.
I think it was a bat flip situation, and everyone was all up in arms about that. Same thing last year.
But do you remember anything? Do you remember anything about that specific bat flip from 2 years ago?
No.
I don't either.
I remember the walk-off grand slam, I think against, you know, whatever rinky-dink team Tennessee played in the regionals last year.
I mean, honest to God, like, they oh, yeah, everybody hates us. It's like, I'm not sure that really everybody hates you. I mean, I think there's a lot. I think Vanderbilt baseball fans legitimately hate you. That I will give you.
That is fair.
But, I mean, I don't think, like, I just don't think that many people have an investment positively or negatively in Tennessee baseball.
I would say diehard baseball fans, SEC baseball fans probably do.
Yeah, like if you're a diehard Arkansas fan,
yeah,
maybe
you probably
they did something
the
over the last couple of years that pissed you off. But in general, probably not. Now, I do have 3 takeaways. I want to get to these, and then we'll get to your phones at 615-737-1025. 1, I don't think Tennessee's as dominant as everybody was making them out to be coming into the weekend. Now, I'm not to say that the 27 Yankees never got down, but they were down 4-0 against Campbell, and then they were down 4-0 yesterday against Georgia Tech. And if Georgia Tech had any stones in their pants, they would have won that game last night. I mean, I thought Georgia Tech, and I'm not here to diminish Tennessee's regional win. This is why you get number 1 seed so that you get to play the worst teams and you get to play them at home in your ballpark. And I think we should eliminate the rule in college baseball where home teams and regionals are away batting teams. I think it's
it doesn't make any sense. If you're the number 1 seed, I think you get to be the home team.
You should get
every single game you play.
Now, super regional, I could see that being different because it's the best out of 3. So, you know, let's flip it or whatever. But again, I digress. But I mean, I thought Georgia Tech did as much damage to themselves in that 9th inning of any team that I've seen in a long time. That was a pure self-destruction. And it's not even the way that the center fielder, when the guy before he flipped his middle finger off, when he hit the ball over his head, the center fielder completely misread that ball. That was the second big mistake of that inning. The first was Tennessee got the tying run on base at first. They brought in their designated pinch runner to go in there and probably try to steal second like Dave Roberts with the Red Sox back in 2004. And instead, they hit a soft ground ball to second. Well, I don't know if you ever played baseball. I'm sure they probably do the same thing in softball.
I played softball, yeah.
Where, you're practicing and it's like, all right, runners at first and second, one out. Hits the ball right there, and then the third baseman, what's he do with the ball? That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, Georgia Tech, they got to realize that they're the home team. So a tie is not the end of the world. You tie 4-4, you go to 4-4, you go to the ninth inning, you score a run, which they ended up scoring runs in the ninth inning, but you score a run in the ninth inning, you win. And so that's why they always say play for the tie. Well, the second baseman on a soft dribbler didn't know what to do. And he tried to shovel it in time. And I saw the ball hit on the ground, and I'm like, you're not getting two out of this. Go to first. Go to first. Go to first. And then tell the pitcher, hey, don't worry about that runner at second. If he scores, he scores. If not, don't worry about it. Instead, he panicked, threw the ball to second. Guy was safe. And all of a sudden, now it's first and second, and the fans are into it, and they got the top of their order coming up, and you could just see everybody on Georgia Tech's team just like freaking shrivel up. And then the next ball gets hit over the center fielder's head, and it wasn't like he belted the ball over his head. The center fielder thought he read it off the bat. He didn't. It was a play that I've seen in high school before. I mean, it should not happen in college baseball at that level where a guy misreads a ball off the bat like that in that kind of spot. So Georgia Tech just completely fell apart last night. And so if Tennessee's going to get down to these teams, I will say this. You get in Omaha, you get down by 4 runs, and some team's throwing an ace out there, you're in trouble. And Omaha is a different beast. Now, I think they're going to beat Notre Dame this weekend. I don't think it's guaranteed, but I'd probably say like 90%. But you get out there, and I know everybody, all these Tennessee fans think this is a team of destiny. They think this team is untouchable. I heard somebody today in local radio who was like, oh, yeah, I think they proved this weekend that they can beat anybody. I'm like, it's going to get a little bit tougher around here. So maybe not as dominant as we thought, where one loss, especially in Omaha, can be so devastating to everything you're trying to do.
I think more so, they can beat anybody. I think more so what I learned this weekend more than that is how much Tennessee really plays off of momentum, because they had no momentum whatsoever offensively in the first 6 or 7 innings. And then they get a guy on first, and then that guy goes to second, and then you start to feel the momentum build. Then they get the bases loaded. Then Trey Lipscomb gets hit in the hands. Then they're scoring runs, and then the bats start moving.
Think about this. If the
this wasn't the first time, like throughout the regular season.
If the center fielder catches the ball,
how much does that change the game?
The runner probably tags and goes to third. So you're at first and third with 1 out. Well, the pitcher for Georgia Tech was throwing a sinker ball, and he had thrown 2 6-4-3 double plays in the 7th and 8th innings. So, I mean, if that's the case, if I'm Georgia Tech's pitching coach, I'm going out to the mound right there and telling him, hey, you've already done this twice.
Do it again.
Just let him hit it on the ground. And then all of a sudden, like, that's how big, and that's why, I mean, again, I'm not taking away from Tennessee's win. This is why you get to play those teams when you are the number 1 seed, because you earned that. But I do believe that I believe, like, I don't think Tennessee is as dominant as everybody's making them out to be. And there's 2 specific reasons why. Number 1, to your point about feeding off the momentum. I think that playing at that stadium, I think that stadium rocked Georgia Tech last night. Like, it mentally
it was
fried
loud and rowdy.
2, that's a small ballpark. And TD Ameritrade is a huge ballpark. And it is hard to hit the ball out of the yard out there. And that ballpark's been open for 10 years now. And for 10 years, it's been hard to hit the ball out of the ballpark out there at TD Ameritrade. Now, again, this Tennessee team's awesome, but I just don't think they're as I told you this story before the show. Keith Jones, when the Predators won the Western Conference in 2017, they were down 2-0 after the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup, and Keith Jones was on NBC. And Keith Jones said, Nashville fans that are new to this, like, just know that it's okay. This is still a series. You got to go to Bridgestone and defend it, but it's okay. And kind of the message from Keith Jones was, hey, you guys are new to this. You guys don't understand. This is in hockey being down 2-0 going back. It's okay. It's okay, everybody. For me, I almost want to say Vols fans. Vandy fans will tell you this because they've been through this. Vols fans, you're new to this. I know they got to Omaha last year, but it's different. They're new to this. It's hard. Like, it is freaking
really hard. That's the reason why Aria Gerson put out a stat, but it was like one in the past 20. Aria Gerson, she works for the Tennessean. She covers Vanderbilt for the Tennessean. One in the past 20 or 25, 20-something years, only one seed going into the tournament has actually won it all. It's really hard. And, of course, the counter to that is Tennessee is better than probably any of those teams in the past 20, 25 years. Tennessee is a dominant team. This could be one of the best baseball teams in the history of baseball. But the only thing that will be able to solidify that is if you win in Omaha. Yeah. It's a really hard tournament to win. It's not the first time that Tennessee's been down in the middle of the game. They get their stuff together in the 7th or 8th innings. I've seen it a lot from Tennessee throughout the regular season, that they kind of just, they're just farting around the first 7 innings, and then they really get into a groove late and score 7 or 8 runs in the last few innings. Not the first time that they've done that. But to your point, it's hard.
It's hard. And, I mean, I've seen teams. Like my college roommate played on a Louisville team that was a decent team that went to Omaha, but they weren't a great team. And they got smoked in the 2 games that they were in Omaha. And they came in here and beat Vanderbilt, who was the betting favorite to win the championship. And, I mean, the Vanderbilt people were stunned when they came in here and won that regional 2-0 or super regional 2-0. Like, this thing's hard. And especially when you get to Omaha. And it's not like, okay, you lose a game and then you got to beat Campbell twice to go play. No, you lose a game in Omaha and you got to go through the best teams and you got to beat them twice, and it's hard. So to Tennessee fans, I know you're excited. I know you're into this.
And they have every right to be excited. This is a fun team to watch.
This is really, really hard. We'll go to your phones. Plus, Joe Rexrode, boy, he was, what's the right word? Just sanctimonious this morning. And yet, I think he committed the same crime that the person he's mad at did. So we'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game. Oh, let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love those guys. My friends at Hiller, they have been fantastic. They've been taking care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. They're also proud supporters of the Tennessee Volunteers and the Vanderbilt Commodores, who are playing right now, and the Predators as well. There's no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller. Until the end of June, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 interest for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, and 0 interest for 12 months on new whole home generators. If you know you need a new system for your home, do it this month. These financing offers are available for a limited time only to help you stay comfortable and cool all summer long and handle the payments later. Visit happyhiller.com for all the details. As always, happy you will be, or the service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Again, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Hi, I'm UC Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by UC Saros there.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
The official Monster Truck Series. Witness the world's best drivers competing in your favorite Monster Jam trucks. The fun begins at the pit party, where you can meet the drivers, get autographs, take pictures, and see the trucks up close. Get your $20 pit party pass at monsterjam.com today. Must have valid event ticket to enter pit party. Restrictions may apply. Rules and activities are subject to change. Visit website for event details. Coming to Nissan Stadium June 25th.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
It is the TD Power Hour to Ron Davenport.
But in all honesty, I don't think they need to go out and sign a receiver. And I think when you look at that 23% target share that's there, Austin Hooper, in my opinion, should garner a lot of that. He should get a lot of that, because when you look at what he was able to do in the past, you look at when he was in Atlanta, he worked that middle of the field. He worked the seam. He worked the post. and did a lot of that stuff. I think that's where Tannehill is going to go. And just in watching practice, you saw it yesterday, Carolina. There's a lot of communication between Tannehill and Hooper after almost every play.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I'm going to tell you with 100% honesty because someone told me that it may come up in this thing, and I didn't even think about it. But for about 2 seconds today, when someone... I don't know any of the ESPN stuff. I honestly don't. If you give me $1 million and say what's... I know there was a lot of stuff that went going around. Well, we could pick any topic you want to with social media now. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So I'm not trying to sound like a cool guy or be disrespectful, but I honestly don't care. And a big part of that is I got my hands full here. I appreciate that our fans give me more credit than they should. And I run into people at Ollie B and say, you're killing it. I'm not doing anything. Drew killed the ball tonight. So I got my hands full. I wish I would have managed the game a little bit better tonight. I don't think I destroyed it, but I thought I could. So that's kind of where my energy is. So again, kind of just to put that to rest for now.
That was Tony Vitello on the ESPN PED suspension. That the rumors that were floated, the Tennessee catcher was scratched on Friday night. The Tennessee gave no reason why, which is the coach's fault. Again, that's not the PR staff's fault. That's not the player's fault. That is the coach's fault. That if you scratch him, you have got to give an explanation to your PR guy and say, hey, just tell him that he's out, that he's out for today. We hope to have him back in the lineup tomorrow. The end. They didn't. To Vitello's point, social media goes crazy. And then all of a sudden it leads to a Stillwater regional game that I don't think most people watched. A Stillwater regional broadcast where they ran with a Twitter rumor that he was out for PEDs. Apparently the color analyst that brought it up, he has apologized in the spreading of misinformation. But the Tennessee fans, got on such a high horse. And I'll give Vitello credit for saying, hey, I got other things to worry about than demanding an apology from ESPN like his athletic director did. But let me just say this. This is your fault. This happened because of you. So I'm listening to the morning show today. I went on a walk this morning. I'm on my morning walk listening to Robbie and Joe. And Joe, of course, and I knew, I was so expecting this too. I was like, goody. So I knew Joe was going to get all on his high horse about this, right? Like, this is like right up his alley.
Oh, yeah. He loves a good media scandal.
Oh, God. He loves it. So it was like, they should not have gone with this. The fact that they did and just...
They shouldn't have gone with it.
They shouldn't have.
It was irresponsible.
But it's the writer holier than thou. Like, like the media writer that... like when we broke the story about Aaron Rodgers buying a house and the local scribes were, holier than thou about, just because he's buying a house doesn't mean... Oh, what was that Adam Schefter reported? Oh, the Titans were interested. Oh, okay. Like, now it's different because Adam Schefter reported it, but when it was just us talking about that he's open to join the Titans, it's like, oh, yeah, this is not news. This is... And so, anywho, Joe was so on the high horse about it. Well, I remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? I remember having to track down whether or not a rumor that started on the Robbie and Rex Road show. I had to track down whether or not it was true that John Hines got a 6-year contract. And when I talked to my source, I said, hey, I go, did you guys sign John Hines a 6-year deal? He goes, what? I was like, look, man, I tuned into Robbie and Rex Road, and they were talking about whether or not Hines signed a 6-year deal. So I put out there that he did not sign a 6-year deal. Then there was the guy texted into the text line like a couple weeks ago and said that Adam Schefter reported that Traylon Burks did not take his Allegra before practice, and that was why he had allergies, and that Burks is expected to be full go going forward. And Robbie and Joe talked about that. And then the next segment, that same guy felt bad because he screwed with Robbie and Joe.
Started this whole storm.
He was like, hey, I was just playing around. That was just a joke. And so I texted Joe, and I was like, you can't be mad at this guy for falling for some of the things that you've fallen for. You can sit there and say, hey, man, like, you got to do better, which is what we've done. But you can't sit there and be like, that is irresponsible. It is
irresponsible.
But you have to at least address that you've done it too.
Yeah.
Well, you think he did that?
I don't know if Joe and Robbie did that or not.
No,
Actually, no, I do know for certain. I was listening to Robbie and Rexroad. The last segment, Joe said, I apologize for running with something that was not true.
I'm stunned because when I texted Joe about it, this is what he said this morning.
I have to do a pre-rant, okay?
Okay.
Let me read this. Let me read this text from Stillman.
Okay.
Oh, good Lord. You cannot criticize people for running with internet rumors. You guys ran with Hines' contract and a fake Schefter tweet. What do we run with on Hines' contract?
We didn't run with anything. We read a text on a text line that said that he had 6 years and then literally said after it that it was not reported that it was 6 years. His listening skills are about as bad as a 5-year-old. It's unbelievable sometimes.
Let me read the rest of this. They did the same thing. It happens. It's the coach's fault for not just saying he was ill and would be out.
Jared, go back to sleep. You're being pretty stupid this morning.
Yeah, that's insanely stupid. I will definitely admit that on the text line, someone was like, oh, Schefter tweeted this. So I read who had said it on the text line and said, well, this texter said that Schefter tweeted something. I read it. I cited who said it, and then we figured out it wasn't true pretty quickly. We didn't run with anything in a Hines contract. This is not that at all, Jared. This is a guy who stated as fact, didn't even say a rumor, report. He stated as fact that this happened. It's not close to the same thing. Stop being an idiot.
He says it's not close to being the same thing. I think it's pretty close to being the same thing.
I think what the broadcaster did on Friday night was way more irresponsible than what Robbie and Joe did. Because stating as fact that somebody has a PED suspension.
Did you hear what the announcer said?
I saw a clip of it on Twitter.
I haven't heard what the guy said. So I mean, like, again, this is my.
But that is so much worse. So much worse.
But it's to me, it's kind of all the same. It's just it's bigger. Like, so it's bigger when it's about
worse.
I mean, again, the point I'm
that is
making
a really big accusation to say that somebody is suspended for PEDs.
I know, but I guess my bigger point here is that just like they got duped, this guy got duped. And that's the only point I'm making.
And to run with it is very irresponsible.
I mean, look, all I know is
to state it as fact is different than reading a text from the text line.
Well, again, they read the text from the text line that Schefter reported, and then they talked about it as if it was Schefter reporting. And then the guy said, no, I'm kidding. And then they were like, oh, we were just, whatever. And that happens. It happens.
It does. It's happened to me before. I got duped in the text line.
I go back to this. Remember,
but I also didn't accuse anyone of being suspended for using steroids.
Remember the Debo's mom's Instagram video?
Yes.
And I was like, I need you to make sure that that's real. Like, we talked about it, like, before you told me that we had it. You sent it to me, and I'm like, okay, like, we're going to have to, like, figure out that this is real before we play this on the air. So I'm not saying that the broadcaster, I don't feel like the broadcaster, was in the right by any means. But I also think, like, to get so sanctimonious about how dare you. I mean, look, it happens. It's not the end of the world. People shouldn't be fired. People should, hey, he said it. It was wrong. The end. I mean, Ian Rappaport got something wrong. I told Ian Rappaport he got it wrong. He told me I was wrong for him getting it wrong, and then he changed his report. And nobody cares about that. I mean, so to me, it's just like, I
think because it's accusatory rather than with the Ian Rappaport. With Ian Rappaport, it was contract specifics. And what Ian Rappaport initially reported was wrong. You're right. But what the broadcaster did in that Arkansas game, it was an Arkansas game, right?
I don't know. It was
so out of regional, which Arkansas is in, but it was so accusatory.
Was it like this kid's a bad person and his parents did everyone wrong because he injected himself with
You interpret
Andro
that. If you hear somebody's got suspended for a PED, would you think he's a bad guy? A lot of people would.
I know, but then once it comes out that it didn't have, like, once it comes out that that's not the case, everybody can
ball and they hear it and they run with it.
How
because
many
with
people,
what broadcasters say,
how many people,
you usually take as the truth.
How many people are watching that game?
I don't know.
Like a random Stillwater regional baseball game where they don't even bother to put real announcers on the game?
I mean, how many clips did you see from that game where Oklahoma State scored 25 runs?
I'm going to be honest with you.
It was like a 25-14 game.
I'm going to be honest with you. And this is somebody who did nothing yesterday, who literally watched sports all day. Zero.
I saw a lot about it.
0 clips. Although I did think about this. I think that those two schools, Missouri State and Oklahoma State, have the two most obnoxious football coaches in all of college football.
What do you care about Missouri State's coach?
Bob Petrino.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what's crazy is
I'm a man. I'm 40.
So the athletic director at Missouri State, I actually know because he was at Louisville when I was at Louisville. And he hired Petrino after Petrino, crashed the car into the wall at Louisville. And, I mean, Petrino's just an all-time bad guy. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And when they hired Bobby Petrino, I could not believe it. And I was like, Kyle, what you doing, baby? Like, what? And then this is during a break, and I told Floyd that I was like, because Floyd hated Bobby Petrino. And I told Floyd that they hired Bobby Petrino, and I guess Les Steckel's brother was the coach. And they let Les Steckel's brother go. And you know how close Floyd and Les were.
Yeah.
And they let Les Steckel's brother go in order to bring in Bobby Petrino. And Floyd was like, they fired the nicest guy in college football to hire the biggest a-hole in college football. And so I've always kind of been like I hope Bobby Petrino loses. I can't stand Bobby Petrino. So there you go on that front. Let's get to your phones next. Oh, Joe's texted us. Let's see. Joe said, yeah. Joe's mad because I didn't listen to the actual call of what they said. Joe goes, Jared is trying to compare our text line thing and the ESPN PED thing, and then he goes, well, I never listened to the call. I did not listen to the call of the broadcast, and I'm fine by it. Because, again, guy ran with an internet rumor. I'm a process
Which is
guy.
bad.
Guy ran with an internet rumor.
You shouldn't do that.
He apologized.
Which is
the
good.
The truth came out. Everybody lived. The end. Just like guy called in on their show with an internet rumor. They discussed it. People asked me if it was true. I found out it wasn't. We found out it wasn't. I texted them. They did. Everybody lived. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go to the phones on this next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Super Speedway
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 88 degrees. Scattered showers and thunderstorms possible the rest of the day, some of which could be strong to severe.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you want to sell your ride, do it now. All you have to do is go to GiveMeTheVin.com. Put in your license plate number, put in the miles, and attach a couple of pictures. Visit GiveMeTheVin.com.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic all-American sports bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
Again this year, we at Cromwell Media are proud to support the American Cancer Society and the Coaches vs. Cancer Initiative. Over the years, Coaches vs. Cancer has raised $135 million to help support life-saving cancer research. Our Tennessee college basketball coaches are coming together today to do their part in fighting back. To make a donation to help support the 2022 Coaches vs. Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic or to find out more information on how to get involved in 2023, please visit coachesversuscancertn.com.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
We got the Evan Russell call, Ian?
From the ESPN announcers?
Yes.
Well, we do. The audio's not great, but hopefully we can make some of it out.
Okay, so I want to hear this because Joe is mad at us. Joe is mad at me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I said I haven't listened to this call of the supposed suspension of. I'm guessing this is like somebody took a video with their phone of
and
the
posted
TV,
it to Twitter.
and that's where.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear it. Let's try to make it out. If the audio's bad, I'll deal with it later. Let's hear what this says.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Failed a drug test, and so Evan Russell, is suspended for the rest of the season. So Tennessee's going to have the whole rest of the team tested tomorrow, or the NCAA is. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's just a one-player thing, or if that is going to be throughout that whole entire program. Performance-enhancing drugs is what it was said. That's a big blow to the Vols.
Well, the way Tony Vitello put it, says Evan Russell was sick. So there are reports and speculation out what the actual issue is, but per the head coach in his post-game press conference, sick. Well, we know this, he did not play against Alabama State. Tennessee was fine, that team is loaded. And ready for a postseason run.
Oh my God, that's what people are mad about.
But there were a lot of things in there that were just not true.
I know, but at least they right there said, hey, apparently the coach.
Out for the rest of the season.
Apparently the coach says it's not the case.
The rest of the Tennessee team is going to be tested. Let's say you were watching TV. That's all you heard. You turned your TV off. You have a wildly different perception of what's going on than the truth.
But the guy actually said, Vitello says he's sick and he expects to play tomorrow.
Then that's a good clarification.
So they had it right there. They had it right there. Now, again, the guy goofed.
But the fact that was even put out there, I mean, again, you goof sometimes. You goof.
To me, after hearing
that
this.
is bad.
After hearing this is more like the Allegra thing with Robbie and Joe and the Adam Schefter fake tweet then
I don't think so.
the process is the same.
The process is the same, but the end result is different. Because you're talking about not taking your Allegra for a guy at OTAs
Right, you're saying
versus
it's not serious.
accusing a catcher of PEDs being out for the rest of the season and the rest of the team being
Right.
tested.
But I mean,
that's so much worse than allergies.
Again, you're looking at the substance of what was being talked about, right? So, like, if someone were to say, Jared Stillman tripped over himself, and we found out that that's not true, or Jared Stillman robbed a gas station at gunpoint, the substance of what's being decided there is
Those are
different.
two very different things.
But I just don't think it's that big of a deal. And again, the guy said, actually, the coach reported, clearly somebody in the truck was like, hey, that's not what happened.
That's not true.
That's not what happened. The coaches has come out there and said that. Oh, my God. I saw Clay Travis. Like, Clay Travis, the guy that got Greg Schiano unhired as Tennessee's football coach because of a backhanded, non-corroborated rumor about him being involved with Penn State. That guy wrote an article that was like, the Tennessee catcher should sue for defamation. I mean, hey, according to reports and speculation, there was reports and speculation. Who reported it? Don't know. But so Joe gets mad at me, because I didn't listen to the call. I listened to the call, and now I think it's even more like what Joe did. So at this point, I mean, whatever. There's no arguing. Let's go to your phone lines, because he's going to just be like, oh, it's not the same, but the process is the same. Let's go to your text line. What do we have? Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Oh, excuse me. Let's go to Jeff in Kingston Springs. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Jared, enjoy the show, but, man, you could not be more off base on this. Think just blowing this over like it's no big deal. And regardless of how many people were watching the game, it's a national ESPN broadcast. And their announcer, just like Caroline said, he stated as fact, named the player, Evan Russell, that he had failed a drug test and was suspended for the rest of the year, and the rest of the team was going to be drug tested before their next game.
And how is anybody's life different because of that clip that we just played?
He told a blatant lie about an individual player and also about the team as a whole.
So if he had just said, Jeff, I've heard, or it's been reported.
Well, it wasn't reported.
Or, I mean, it was reported by somebody.
It wasn't reported, so that still would have been incorrect.
Well, it was reported by somebody. Somebody said it to him, right?
If Georgia Tech fan 123 in Atlanta tweets it, that's not necessarily a report.
No, that's what happens, though.
Can I
like, have you ever heard? And I appreciate the call, Jeff. Have you ever heard of this Twitter handle, Ballsack Sports?
Yes, I have.
So they literally put out a tweet. Like, they put out fake quotes. And what they do, and it's a wild. Like, the guy one time put out a fake Damian Lillard quote, and not even in small letters, like, it was out there. And it was, as Damian Lillard said in his 47th sit-down interview with Ballsack Sports, that has never happened. And so, like, they're telling you that it's not true. And the reactions to the tweet were people like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. They put out a fake tweet about how Kyrie Irving dominated James Harden every day in practice, and that's why James Harden demanded a trade. Stephen A. Smith goes on TV and goes, and then you hear the rumors about what happened at practice, and then I heard those weren't true, but then you see the relationship on the court, and you start to think maybe it is. And that's Stephen A.
saying rumors
on a show that people are actually watching.
That aren't true to be able to support
He's
your
starting
argument.
to think that they might be true because.
But even still, that's different.
You know what's funny though? You know where all this stuff starts?
Twitter
and message boards.
100%.
It all starts. The day that Ryan Johansson got hurt in 2017, I had somebody tweet at me and say, a friend of mine works at, whatever hospital, and said that one of the players is out for the year. Now, I can't go on the air and say, hey, I'm hearing someone's out for the year. But I heard about that at like 9 a.m. that morning, and at 4 o'clock, everybody found out Johansson was the one. Well, everyone found out that Johansson was hurt, and that he had an emergency surgery, and that he was out for the playoffs. And so, look, I would agree. The guy screwed up, but it's not a big deal. And not only that, on the call, they had the guy behind it. And again, it's just not a big deal. And I don't think the middle finger at the center fielder is a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Again, two different things. Do I think that this is worthy of a defamation case? No, I don't think it's worthy of a defamation case. But I'm not just going to brush it off like it's nothing. I'm not going to brush it off like it's just a goof. Because, yeah, it was a goof, but it was a big one.
I think if somebody had texted into the Robbie and Retro text line did you see Adam Schefter's tweet that said that Traylon Burks was suspended for PEDs? They would have had the same reaction as did you see the Adam Schefter tweet that said that
But again, reading a text from the text line is different than stating something on a call during a game.
He said, according to reports.
And what are those
and
reports?
Speculation.
Did he get Barry McCockernerd? Because it's happened to me before, too.
Yes, that's the thing.
But I'm also not calling a national broadcast and calling it from a report. Because, yeah, it was reported, but not a very reputable source.
Well, I would want you to approach these broadcasts like you're doing a national broadcast.
And I do.
So I mean, it's the same.
But before I say something on our show, I check to make sure, was it actually SportsCenter or...
And I'm not saying that old buddy, didn't screw up a little bit. But to sit there again,
he did screw up.
The sanctimony...
He reported incorrect information. That is a screw up.
So what are you going to do, fire him?
No, I'm not going to fire him, but I'm not going to write it off as nothing.
So again, the writer...
I want you to admit that it's not a teeny tiny deal. That's what I want.
Oh, let me say this. Everybody watch that. Look right in the camera. It's not a big deal. There you go.
Okay. That's fine.
It's not a big deal.
Well, when I start to report that Derrick Henry is going to retire because he's sick and tired of Nashville.
According to who?
According to a report.
Okay.
I can say it was according to a report. You cannot get mad at me. When we roll with that for an hour and then I realize that it's not true.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this about me. That's not something that gets me all too upset, but...
If we roll for an hour that Derrick Henry's retiring and it's not true information, I think you'd have a bee in your bonnet about that one.
I mean,
according to reports, though.
I mean, as I said at the top of this segment, or the top of this hour, if we did this, I would not be happy with that. And again, like I said, it shouldn't have happened. But again,
it shouldn't have happened.
Just the whole finger, wagging. Guy screwed up.
Yeah.
Do we even know who the guy is? Do we even know who the guy is? Who's the guy who said it?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Why?
Because that's my point, is these guys they've got on there are 977th to be calling games on the depth chart.
But the thing is, it's not about him. It's not about him saying it. It's about the person who he was talking about. Because he doesn't really have to deal with the outrage that happened after it.
I will say this.
Evan Russell did.
I will say this.
And that's not fair of Evan Russell to have to deal with something that wasn't true.
I mean, again, the coach... To me, the coach is the one who's at fault as far as Evan Russell's concerned.
He's not completely innocent in this situation.
The program set him up. But the bigger thing here is, again, as somebody who, when Dwayne Haskins died, it was right when I jumped on the air that morning to do Sirius. And I literally said to myself, okay, how do I do this? How do I talk about Dwayne Haskins, who I don't know, who I've never covered, who I know so little about? How do I talk about his death? And at the same time, turn around and say, and now we're going to talk about Tiger Woods.
It's hard.
And all I was saying was, Jared, whatever you do, just don't be insensitive. No matter what you say, no matter what you do. Little did I know that 3 clicks up the dial, Gil Brandt was just letting it fly on NFL radio about.
That was bad.
I mean, and so, and again, that's my way of saying that if you think nobody's listening, there's somebody listening. But I don't think that, again, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. And I'm standing by it. Now, look, if I was the guy's boss, and this is again, the guy at Tennessee throwing the middle finger out to the center fielder at Georgia Tech. If I was the commissioner of the SEC, I'd be picking up the phone, and we'd be talking, and we'd be having a conversation, and that's one thing. But would I really care that much? Probably not. 615-737-1025. I feel like we got a lot of texts we haven't gotten to, so let's do that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Down, Middle Tennessee. 3-ball, yes, sir.
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month. And inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Harness LLC needs 5 foremen to join our team. Go to selectharness.com now if you're a foreman with 3 years experience in excavation. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches, weakness, or discomfort in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 selling nerve care company. Nervive contains alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, and B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live your life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3. Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. We are hanging out at the Coaches vs. Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic. Again, our friends at Coaches vs. Cancer. Sean Farnham is in the house here. They have raised over $135 million to help support life-saving cancer research. And again, if you want to get involved or check out the 2023 Coaches vs. Cancer Classic, please go to coachesversuscancertn.com. Again, that's coachesversuscancertn.com. So again, I really didn't think that this was going to be like an hour-long discussion on this show. In fact, I thought there would be more talk about the Tennessee center fielder yesterday, or outfielder, who hit the ball over the Georgia Tech center fielder, and as he was rounding first, stuck his middle finger in the air, which, by the way, is, I mean, you figured he'd be like in the zone of thinking about running to second. But anywho.
More important things to worry about.
I figured there'd be like the crowd that would be like, how dare he?
I think there is that crowd out there. I think that crowd exists, and I think there's another crowd on the opposite end of the spectrum of, that was awesome. But I think the majority of people, majority of sports fans lie in the middle of, I don't really care.
So the bigger thing for me was on Friday when we got off the air, Tennessee scratched their catcher, Evan Russell. And they didn't tell us why. Twitter went crazy, which again, I mean, people can pretend like social media doesn't matter, but considering that all of the athletes, for the most part, are on it, like the players are on it, the coaches are on it, like...
Well, considering this entire storm started and ended with Twitter, I think goes to show how important Twitter is.
But how
ingrained it is into sports media.
How many storms nowadays start with Twitter? Like
Most of them.
There you go. So it's a big enough deal. And so it starts there, and then, they say that we played the call on the air. And again, I just don't like the finger wagging of how dare Troy Eklund, who, I've been watching baseball for a long time. I don't even know who this guy is. And he was calling the game.
But I don't think it matters if you know who he is or not.
He sent out a statement that said, quote, "While I made a statement on air today, so I guess he apologized on air for what he said.
Yeah.
I again want to extend my sincere apologies to Evan Russell and his family, Coach Vitello, and the entire Vols organization and fan base for the comments I made in error yesterday. I know Coach Vitello and believe he knows where my heart is coming from and that I didn't mean to cause any harm. I'm truly sorry and will work to do better in the future."
Good. Okay.
Good.
And I think from there, Tennessee fans need to move on. He needs to move on. But but I'm not going to say that what he did wasn't wrong.
Did I ever say it wasn't wrong?
You said it wasn't a big deal.
And I
think it is a big deal.
And
he apologized, and you can move forward with it. And I think that everyone should move forward with it.
I will say this.
Because at the end of the day, nobody died, and that's a good thing.
I think it is incredibly hard. To be on social media and not get swung at some point in time.
Yeah, you're going to get bamboozled. It's inevitable.
When I'm sitting here referencing the fact that Robbie and Joe talked about whether or not John Hines was getting a 6-year contract because a caller called in and said that. Or when they bought a fake Adam Schefter tweet about Traylon Burks needing his Allegra. And then the guy texted in the next segment and was like, I was just kidding about that. Like, when that what I'm not saying that Joe and Robbie are bad at what they do. I'm just saying that it's the occupational hazard that comes with it. And it's not, you want to be perfect. Like, you want to not make those mistakes. And somehow, some way, I've done a pretty good job of avoiding most of that over the years, which is pretty actually, like, as I say it, almost hard for me to even comprehend how that's possible. But at the same time, I'm also someone that realizes accidents happen, and that as long as people apologize and there's not some humongous shift, or at least they admit their error, for the most part, I don't see why it's such a big deal. And again, I think the whole situation's avoided if Tennessee's coach, instead of saying, he's out for the game and we'll talk about it in 5 hours, I think it's a lot easier if the coach, just when he gets scratched for the game, says he's ill, we hope he's in the lineup tomorrow. The end.
But I don't think that absolves, because I do agree with you that I think that Tony Vitello and the Tennessee Athletic Department as a whole should have just come clean enough to erase any and all speculation, just to protect themselves, to protect Evan Russell. But that doesn't absolve the broadcaster of all blame.
No, but I never said it did. I think my thing is just the attacking and the demanding of an apology and he did
apologize.
This is the fan base. This is the fan base that ran Greg Schiano out of town because of some unsubstantiated secondhand hearsay that was reported like 10 years in the past. And they were like, nope. Once you're tied to Penn State and that, you are out for me. And it's like, what? And everybody was, and this was back when Urban Meyer was respected. And Urban Meyer was like, he's a good man, he's a good football coach. And Bill Belichick's hiring him to coach the defense. And all these guys in football, he's great, he's this. And there's nothing that ties him to any of that. And the Tennessee fans are like, nope. This guy testified 10 years ago this, and even though nobody else corroborated that, even though there's no evidence, even though I think the judge said that he couldn't say it because it was hearsay, Tennessee fans were like, nope, we need a new football coach. And that's what bothered me about that whole situation, was that it was never really about that. It was really about the fact that
they just didn't want him to be their
coach.
coach.
He was good enough to coach Tennessee. And that's where I'm just like, okay, all right, enough of it from you guys. Let's go to your phones, because I promised text line, and we haven't touched the text line in like an hour. What do we have?
Cody texts in and says the problem is Evan was dealing with personal issues, anxiety, and stress and all of that, and then this guy drops that on live TV, and that's what makes it a big deal.
So this guy's supposed to know what he's dealing with when Tennessee is keeping it G14 classified and nobody's allowed to know?
I don't think that's the big deal, and it's unfortunate that Evan Russell's been dealing with this. I hope he feels better. However, I don't think that's what makes it a big deal. It didn't matter if it was, anxiety and stress, which I hate that he's dealing with. It didn't matter if he was actually sick, if he had the flu, if he had COVID, whatever it was. It was the fact that what he reported was wrong. Does that make anxiety and stress worse? Yes, probably. But that to me doesn't matter. Yeah, because to your point, how's he supposed to know what he's dealing with? It's the fact that he misreported something and reported it as fact. And I think that alone makes it a big deal.
Ian, what do you think's worse? This or in 2020 when Schefter and Rappaport and Glazer
crushing
and
the
those
Titans
guys
for the COVID stuff.
Oh, they barbecued the Titans. I mean, barbecued.
I remember that.
Over COVID. And Floyd was getting really mad. And in hindsight, knowing what I know, it wouldn't have surprised me if he had gotten a call from the Titans.
Well, the one thing, sorry to cut you off there, but the one thing a little bit different is they probably got their info from probably legit NFL people.
Well, I know, but does it matter where you get, I mean.
Kind of, I think so.
It makes it easier to run with a story whenever it's reputably reported rather than a random
if you just saw it on the internet, on Twitter, and you're running with it, that's one thing, but if you're getting it from multiple people maybe in the league or from different teams, I think that probably influences you as a reporter. I don't really know because I don't report.
It's obvious to me the league was making the Titans out to be the bad guy. And I don't know why they would do that if then the league didn't have any of the goods to make the Titans the bad guy. And again, this is a story that happened 2 years ago, but when the Titans had a COVID outbreak and they had to cancel a game or push a game against the Steelers back, the media guys in the NFL, Glazer and Schefter and Rappaport and Pelissero, I think, and I can't remember who all, but they basically said that the Titans were skirting the COVID rules.
Florio.
Florio came on the show and said that what he heard was there was a chance Robinson and Vrabel were going to get suspended for the rest of the year. And we did play that clip a bunch. And so that all happened. Well, that was totally wrong, too. And then John Robinson had a press conference, and he was talking about, my integrity and people. And, I didn't hear Ian Rappaport have to give an apology. And so just because Ian Rappaport's sources made him look, gave him an inaccurate report, doesn't mean that the report's not wrong. At least this guy has the stones to apologize for it. Rappaport, last year reported about Ryan Tannehill. I told him he was wrong.
It doesn't make either situation okay. They still misreported information and made either a person or an organization look really bad, unrightfully so.
Yeah, but it's all, to me, it's all the same. Like Clay Travis tweeting out that, the catcher should sue for defamation. Dude, really? You? Really? You know what I mean? And that's where I'm like, look, it happens. And would I like all the reporters to be 100% true? Sure. But how many times do you think in these Jeremy Fowler reports, it's like, so-and-so says this, and I'm like, do we believe that or do we not believe that? And again, to the credit of the ESPN broadcast, the guy actually, his other partner was like, now, according to Tony Vitello, he's saying that he's sick and he'll be in there tomorrow. And the guy was like, well, according to reports. And, yes, is Adam Schefter more serious than, Go Vandy 918764375? Probably. But the reality is that Adam gets them wrong, and so does Go Vandy 54765378892. And that's all I'm just saying it's just not that big of a deal, and everyone's making it out to be a big deal. What else we got?
Another texter texts into the text line and says, seems like Jared is being a little wishy-washy on this, and if it were Joe, he would be roasting him. But since it was UT, he's acting like no big deal. Don't let him off the hook.
I don't understand. Why would being UT make it a difference? Make a difference.
But, you did give Joe and Robbie a very hard time about misreporting those things.
I didn't give him a hard time on the Hines contract.
Yes, you did.
I just said
you
that I
talked
had
about it on the show. We talked about the Allegra thing.
Did we talk about the Allegra thing?
Yes, we did. I believe we even played audio.
No, we didn't play any audio. I do remember on the 6-year contract, they played the audio of me talking about it.
And I think we played Joe's audio too.
I don't think we did.
I think we did.
I don't think we did.
You gave Joe and Robbie a very hard time. So to blow this off like it's nothing, I don't think is fair because this is a much bigger deal than Robbie and Joe reading a text from the text line about Allegra.
I didn't, again, I just remember laughing about it. Literally chuckling about it like it was no big deal and moving on.
But you probably texted Joe and gave him the hardest time.
No, I actually texted Joe the info on the Hines contract when I got that. Hey, I know you guys are talking about what this caller said, but here's the truth. But I texted him, giving him a hard time today.
I know you did.
I gave him a hard time today, but no. Look, these things happen. You told me somebody texted in and said that Skip Bayless, got dragged in through this. And I know people are like, Skip Bayless.
And Joe has chimed in.
I'm sure he has.
Yes, this is from a texter. Skip Bayless got McCockernerd on Undisputed saying that Chris Paul made fun of James Harden's man boobs.
Yeah,
but also man boobs and PEDs are so different. I don't feel like I need to explain why man boobs and PEDs are different.
Okay, so Joe has sent a freaking textbook of a text message that I'm not going to sit here and read. So, all right, I'm going to get – this is majority rules here. And, Ladarius, if you want to count on this, you can't too because I'm not voting, so you would be the tiebreaker here. Do we go back to the phones on this and read Joe's text on the air, which, again, was a freaking encyclopedia, or do we move on to the Titans? And I'll let you guys pick. Caroline, what do you pick?
Let's move on to the Titans.
Ian?
I think we maybe move on.
Oh, well, I guess that's it. Sorry, Joe. Cannot get to Joe's text here. So NFL.com has an interesting feature, and it has nothing to do with the Titans, but everything in it does. And this is one thing that maybe is starting to bother me a little bit. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, right here live from the Coaches versus Cancer Golf Classic. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th and only at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
Big park, bigger fun, bigger smiles. Beach Bend Park with classic amusement rides and the famous Kentucky Rumble roller coaster, daily shows, games, mini golf, and more. Soak up some sun and take the plunge in Splash Lagoon Water Park with wave pool, lazy river, and exhilarating water slides. Big park, bigger fun at Beach Bend, where the parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. For cabana reservations, season passes, and savings on tickets, visit beachbend.com. And for the whole family, Beach Bend Park.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
If you've got a yard, you may plan on digging in it. Like to build an addition, put in a pool, or bury your pirate booty. But you should know that throughout the country, there may be pipelines buried underground. And if you hit one, you've got trouble. Sorry. So before you dig, call 811 to have any buried pipelines located and marked at no charge. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
With Tennessee, the window is closing with what we, who we know them as. Now it's up to that front office, whether it's Mike or John, to recreate, reinvent who the Titans are going to be in the next 5 years from now. And it feels like teams have 5-year plans because you're drafting a quarterback, and chances are, first round, you're getting him for 5 years. This is our game plan. And Tennessee's going to go down that road as well here, and it might start this season.
There you go. That was Dan Patrick on Darren, Donick, and Chase last week talking about the Titans and the window and what's it mean. And You know what's crazy is I think I've learned a lot of lessons over my life that those are almost more fun things to talk about on television or on radio or, how long is the window open? When is the window closed? And sometimes I think it's just about, the right thing happened to you on this day or you got this matchup against. And I look at the Bengals as a team like that. Like the Bengals have a good quarterback, and I do think that they will win some games in the future with him. But when the Bengals get to the playoffs next year, there's no guarantee that next quarterback's going to throw them 3 interceptions. And so how long is the window open? I don't know. Did the Texans have a chance with Deshaun Watson to compete for a Super Bowl? I don't know. They got beat by 50 against Kansas City in the playoffs, but they did win the division a couple of times. So I think that's more whatever. And with the Titans, I don't know if the window's open or not. I don't think you can win Super Bowl Tannehill, so that's where I feel. But NFL.com has a very interesting list out. And it is the most improved teams in 2022. And it's written by Mark Slesser. And Mark writes, boy, Floyd used to laugh at that stuff. Oh, my God. He'd be like, I've never heard of him.
Who the heck is Mark Sessler?
Every time. Number 1, Raiders. Which, by the way, Bill Barnwell at ESPN doesn't think the Raiders have improved at all. All they did was go out and get Devontae
But
Adams.
I appreciate the Raiders getting the credit that I think that they deserve.
I agree.
At least in their off-season improvements.
Raiders. Number 2, Eagles. Now, how did the Eagles improve this offseason?
A.J. Brown.
Oh,
Everybody
okay.
loves talking about A.J. Brown.
Number 3, Chargers. Number 4, Dolphins and Jets. 4 and 5. Number 6, Denver. So, of the most improved teams, according to NFL.com, they've got 4 teams that the Titans play. And in theory, they could play the Jets and the Dolphins in the playoffs, but they don't. But this is a concern that I have. Well, I don't get too over my skis one way or another about, the Broncos could be the most improved team in the league. I do think about it like this. At least 2 of those teams are going to be freaking good this year. Like, I think the Chargers have an awesome team and an awesome quarterback and a dopey coach. But dopey coaches have won Super Bowls. Dopey coaches have gone to Super Bowls. Lovie Smith's gone to a Super Bowl. Jeff Fisher's gone to a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. Gary Kubiak won a Super Bowl. I mean, if you got a great team, your dopey coach can win that for you. And I would have to say I think the Chargers are better. And the Titans have to play the Chargers this year. In fact, they have to go to Los Angeles and play the Chargers. Early in the season, I think most people would pick the Titans to be 1-1. Do you know who game number 3 is?
No, I don't.
The Raiders.
The Raiders.
That could be a big game early in the season before they play the Colts. You'd want to be 2-0 or 2-1 or 3-0 or something like that. And so the one thing that I look at in this league right now for the Titans, and this is just an on-paper thing, but it looks like everybody's getting better. And I don't know how much the Titans are getting better. I mean, go back to, let's just go over the schedule. How many of these teams are better than the Titans? Do you think the Titans are better than they were last year?
No.
I mean, it's hard on paper, it's hard to look at that and say, okay, they're definitely better or they're going to be better or whatever. But do you think the Giants are better?
No.
I mean, they probably are, but probably not to a point.
But not good enough to make me nervous.
Yeah. Do you think the Bills are better?
I don't know if they're better, but I think they're just as good, which is pretty damn good.
The Bills were the 3rd best team in the AFC last year. I think that they're probably better than the 3rd best team in the AFC. They added a Pro Bowler on the offensive guard.
And I know they ended up 3rd best team in the AFC in terms of, postseason standings, but I don't think that they were the 3rd best team in the AFC.
Well, they finished 3rd, so we have to go by the fact that they were there.
But I just don't think that they were the 3rd best team in the AFC.
I mean, they lost all the teams that were ahead of them. So that's where it's kind of,
I know, I hear you, but I'm just saying, as constructed, I think they're a very good team.
Okay. Are the Raiders better?
Very much so,
Are the Colts better?
Yes.
Is Washington better?
No, but who cares about Washington?
I think Washington is better. I don't think they're better enough, but I think they're better. Are the Texans better?
No, maybe they're better, but
you don't think the Texans, after picking twice in the top 10, are a better team this year?
I mean, they might be a better team, yeah, but not better enough to make me nervous.
Are the Chiefs better?
No, they're not better.
No. Are the Broncos better?
Yes, I do think that they're better, but
how much better? Are the Packers better?
No, I don't think they are.
Are the Bengals better?
Yes.
Are the Eagles better?
Yes.
Are the Jags better?
Yes.
Yes. They got Coach Clown out of there, and they brought in a guy who's got a Super Bowl ring as an offensive coach for that quarterback. And I think, I think Peterson is kind of overrated for what he did in Philadelphia, but he's better than Coach Clown. So they got rid of him. Are the Chargers better?
Yes.
Are the Cowboys better? No.
No, not really.
Although I don't want to talk bad about the Cowboys. I'm becoming a little bit of a Cowboy fan.
Cowboy Homer over here.
Becoming a little
Good
bit Cowboy.
old Jero over here.
My team. My guys.
Yeah, my go-to. Yeah.
My
my
buddies.
A1 day ones.
There you go.
Been a big fan
with
since
the Cowboys.
Friday.
This is the thing I'd worry about. Everyone in the league is trying to get better. I think what's happened in the NFL, though, is a lot of teams are willing to go harder to get better now. We've talked about the salary cap. The salary cap is so fake. The salary cap is literally an impingement for owners and teams to go to the media to say, sorry, we can't get any better players because we're up against the cap. When in reality, they can literally say, here, sign this. All right, we got $47 million in cap space. Do you know the team that right now has the most amount of cap space for this upcoming season? Right now, where we sit today?
The Colts?
Nope.
I don't know.
The Browns. And
no freaking way.
$60 million at the quarterback position.
And they have the most cap space?
Yes.
The Saints also have to be up there somewhere. And they also, entering free agency were $80 million over the cap.
Fake.
Doesn't matter.
But teams now have the ability to try to get better faster. It's all about, do you want to pay? Do you want to pay the draft picks? Because when you trade draft picks, what you're doing is you're trading cheap labor. That's what you're doing.
What the Rams did.
Right.
F them picks.
But you're trading cheap labor to the other teams. So when you do that, you either have to find cheap labor yourself,
or you have to pay for expensive labor.
You have to overpay, and I'll give you an example. The Von Miller deal doesn't get done if Denver doesn't eat the salary at the end of the year. That's why they got a second and a third, because Denver ate Von Miller's salary because the Rams, didn't want to basically extend Von Miller or give him a signing bonus or anything like that and then extend it over years. So they had to have somebody take on the money. But they were willing to do it. So they got their cheap labor, but now all that cheap labor from that second and third round pick for the next 4 years is gone. So that's 8 years of cheap labor in the second and the third round in exchange for Von Miller for like 6 games. Now it worked, but that again is where they are. And so it's just everybody's trying to improve in this league, and they're more willing to do it than before. And I think they're more willing to do it because they make more money now. And so it's easier to go out there and pay more, and it's more willing right now to see the return on investment. If you trade for Devontae Adams of, if we get more season tickets sold, then we can do it. And that I find to be at least a little bit. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Boy, did Pro Football Focus have a Mike Vrabel take. Oh, my God. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all you about the NBA Finals. That's right. The NBA Finals are on, and Game 3, we got a real series. Now, we need these games to get a little bit closer, and maybe at the end they'd be a little bit more interesting. But the NBA Finals are right here on ESPN 1025 The Game and 1063 The Game, and catch Game 3 Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. The NBA Finals is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 1025 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 1063 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 1063 now and add it as a favorite.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and sit.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 105 The Game.
A little bit of breaking news. We're live today out here at the Coaches versus Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic again. All of your favorite basketball coaches are out here on the links, as is ESPN Sean Farnham. They've raised over $135 million to help support life-saving cancer research. Go to coachesversuscancertn.com. So, I do find this to be pretty wild. The breaking news is the Aaron Donald contract. And so Aaron Donald had floated out. This was ridiculous a couple of weeks ago. On the I Am Athlete podcast, he did it, which is also, by the way, on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. He did an interview, and he talked about basically very loosely saying, I could retire. And there were some people talking about, could Aaron Donald retire? And anytime I hear a player who's not going to retire talking about retiring, it is either one of 2 things. They want money, or they want to be traded or fire the coach. It's one or the other. It's never like Michael Jordan retired in 98 because Jerry Krause wanted to get rid of Phil Jackson. Remember, they put the microphone in Michael's face and said, Jerry Krause says Phil could go 82-0 and would still not come back. What do you think? And Michael goes, well, if Phil's not the coach, I'm not coming back. So that, people use retirement as a weapon. And Aaron Donald did in order to get more money, because Aaron Donald got a ton of money years ago. And now that ton of money really isn't that much in NFL circles. Now the money's so much more. So it's basically a $95 million contract, a 3-year, $95 million contract. And I guess Pro Football Talk has the details. So let me click this link. And again, this is new news. Again, Aaron Donald signing a contract. And according to Florio, per a source with the knowledge of the terms, it has no new years. Instead, the existing deal was torn up and it was replaced by a new contract. He'll get $95 million over the next 3 years, so he's literally getting a $40 million raise. The contract includes a pair of voidable years, so it is technically an extension.
Okay.
It includes a pair of voidable years. The void kicks in on the final day of the 2024 league year, which the Rams won't be able to tag him in 2025. Instead, he'll become a legitimate free agent. He gets $65 million over the next 2 years with no offsets on guarantees, and it's structured to let him retire with no financial penalty after 2023. And if he decides to play in 24, he'll get another $30 million. They basically bent the knee. So what I'm going to say is the 3 year, $95 million, that's probably, that's $31 million a season. And again, that third year is not a fake year because he can play for it, but it allows him to retire after the 2 years. So it's really 2 years. It's basically $30 million a year for Aaron Donald. Pay Jeffrey Simmons $30 million a year?
Oh, I would have a tough time doing it. But then again, at what point does the amount of money really matter? If ownership's willing to do it, you can adjust the cap to make it work.
Is Jeffrey Simmons that good of a player?
I don't think so.
See, that's where
that's
the whole
a tough
money
question.
Thing, that's where the whole money thing to
because
me
once you pay
is
Jeffrey Simmons $30 million, then that's the standard on that team.
Yeah, and not only that, you're going to be looking at probably a 3 year deal.
Right.
I mean, excuse me, 5 year deal. Simmons is going to want a 5 year deal, maybe a 4 year deal, so he can go back to free agency one more time. But
and Jeffrey Simmons is young.
I would guess he'd want either a 4 or 5 year deal. So a 4 or 5 year deal at $30 million a year. Let's just say this was 31. Let's say Simmons comes in at 30. You're talking about $120 million for Jeffrey Simmons. Now, again, the way it's structured, the phony money, the void years, the whatever.
It won't matter necessarily against the cap.
But that's what Von Miller just signed for, too, was 120 over 6. And then we found out that it wasn't really 120 over 6, which, again, 120 over 6 is not $30 million a season. A 120 over 6.
$20 million.
Is $20 million a season. Good job, Caroline.
Thank you.
Is $20 million. So
that's a lot of money.
That's probably what you're looking at.
And Jeffrey Simmons is a damn good player.
But
is that the precedent that you're going to set in your football team?
Is he that good? And again, this is about real money. This is about real money. I laugh so hard every time somebody talks about A.J. Brown and the Titans couldn't afford him on the salary cap. I'm like, they had him for $4 million this year. You talk about they were under the cap with AJ
they just
on
didn't want
the
to
team.
deal with AJ Brown. I don't blame them.
And the first year of any multi-year deal is always less anyway. So I mean, again, it's ridiculous. It's the ridiculous way the media covers the sport. But that's my question to everybody there. You want to pay Simmons that money? Because that's what it's going to cost. 615-737-1025. Again, it is essentially a 3-year, $95 million deal for Aaron Donald. And it is really a 2-year deal. And if Aaron wants to play the third year, then
extra
Aaron
third
gets
year
all
if he
the
wants
money.
it.
So there you go. That's now the going rate for the best defensive tackle. Adam is up next. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Adam.
I'd pay him whatever he wanted. Like, if he wants stock options, he can get stock options. I'd pay that man. He changed the defense. And that's my point, because I hear you guys so quickly go, hey, do you think the Titans got better? No. Well, I think they got better. I think they got a lot better. How many games, Jared, after the game did you look and go, Ryan Tannehill never looked at A.J. Brown on this play? I can't believe he didn't look. He's good. He just needs a tight end, man. That's his big thing. That's who he wants to look at. I don't know if it's an arm strength thing or a confidence thing. I don't think A.J. is valuable to this team. Maybe he'll be great in Philly. I don't think he's as valuable to this team as he will be somewhere else.
Man, that call really screwed me up right there. I'm like, he's talking about Jeffrey Simmons, and so I'm ready to discuss Jeffrey Simmons, and then it all of a sudden becomes about Tannehill and his arm strength and A.J. Brown and everything else. So let's attack both sides of this. First off, I don't think Jeffrey Simmons is a pay-him-whatever-it-takes player. I mean, and I like Jeffrey Simmons, but the pay-him-whatever-it-takes players are the once-in-a-generation players. Aaron Donald is a once-in-a-generation player who literally just carried the Rams to the Super Bowl. I mean, look, there are guys in this league that if you have them on your team that you will at least make the playoffs and compete. If you have Brady on your team, you'll make the playoffs and compete. If you have Rodgers on your team, you'll make the playoffs and compete. You have Russell Wilson on your team, you might need to have some other pieces. You need to have a good this or a good that.
And it's no disrespect to Jeffrey Simmons, but Aaron Donald, you can make the argument, is the absolute best player in the NFL.
Yes.
Jeffrey Simmons isn't there.
I mean, 2 players carried the Rams to the championship last year. Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald.
They were Super Bowl co-MVPs.
Well, they really weren't. Kupp was the MVP, but Donald did play well in the game. And Jeffrey Simmons ain't that. Jeffrey Simmons is great, but he ain't that. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons was on the 2020 defense and was lousy. And I'm not saying that means that he's lousy, but that does not make him a pay him whatever it takes kind of player. He is not a pay him whatever it takes kind of player. The Tannehill thing and the A.J. Brown thing, I don't think that signing Austin Hooper to a 1-year prove-it deal makes up for the fact that A.J. Brown was the best wide receiver the Titans have had since D. Mace when I was in the 8th grade. What I do want to look at, and this is something that I was actually planning on doing later this week, is looking at basically how many targets does everybody have to get, how many yards does everybody have to match the 2020 production and not the 21 production. It's easy to say, well, Woods, Burks, and Hooper could replace the production of Ferkser and Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And maybe that's true.
But the 2021 offense wasn't great.
Sucked. It sucked. So the real question is, how do you get it to be like the 2020 offense? And that's going to be, Austin Hooper. You had a 1,000-yard receiver at one position. You had a 900-yard receiver at the other position. You had a 500-yard tight end or 450-yard tight end. So a 1-year, $6 million prove-it deal for a tight end, you're going to expect him to get 500 yards for the Titans? That's a big expectation. So at some point I'm going to go through that. I think the biggest problem with Tannehill is I think that Tannehill is soft. And I felt it in the stadium in the Cincinnati game. I felt it throughout the season last year, and it's really disappointing because in 2019 I felt the exact opposite. I didn't think he was soft. Now I think he's soft, and I think that the talk and the blame and the pressure all are getting to him, and so I'm not overly optimistic about the quarterback, regardless of the weapons that he may or may not have. What we got on the text line?
One texter texts into the text line, and we got a lot of people who want to weigh in on the Evan Russell thing.
Oh, really?
A lot of people that still want to weigh in on the Evan Russell thing. But one texter checks in about Aaron Donald and says, Jeffrey Simmons is very much so worth that much money. If he wants it, pay him.
Boy, I tell you, man. He's not, I can't tell you he's not worth the money, because if that's the market rate, that's the market rate. But I have a hard time, personally, looking at $30 million and seeing that. Like $30 million for Simmons. Then again, AJ was 25. Tannehill,
Another
32.
aspect to this is if Jeffrey Simmons balls out this year, you can also make the question, and that's, of course, assuming a lot of things. If he does ball out this year, and if he is demanding the kind of money that Aaron Donald and Von Miller are getting, which I can only assume that he's going to, but if he balls out this year, we can also ask the question is it a contract year thing, or is this who Jeffrey Simmons is?
I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is pretty good.
Yes, he is very good. But are you going to pay him like the best player in the sport?
It's a tough spot. They have the 5th-year option, so they do have leverage. Like, they have the 5th-year option. So right now they've got Simmons under contract on his rookie deal. They've got him under contract for, I think it's going to be like $10 million next year, which obviously they picked up the option. And that money's not guaranteed. And then they could franchise tag him twice. The difference is Aaron Donald has enough money to retire. Jeffrey Simmons doesn't. So the Titans he can't threaten to retire. And then the Titans say, well, we'll tag you or something like that. But again, they didn't want to go that route with AJ, so maybe they just don't want to go that route. They went that route with Derek, but they don't want to go that route with AJ, so who knows?
But how much of that was AJ's attitude and the way that he was negotiating a new contract rather than the actual numbers and dollars and cents of the contract?
But do you tag the guy twice when it's not about the attitude of the contract? When a guy's like, I just want to be here, I want to find a way, let's work out a deal, that's usually not the guy who gets tagged twice. The guy who gets tagged twice, either you're not convinced of is that good of a player like Washington was with Kirk Cousins, or you can't deal with their demands, and so you're just tagging them to keep them, but you're not actually going to give them a long-term deal. So I just think the Titans just didn't want to deal with it, which maybe they'll look back on it and say it was a bad thing. I don't know. 615-737-1025. We're back to your phones next. Stillman & Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman & Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 1025 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 1063 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 1063 now and save it as a preset.
Spring is in the air, and that means all kinds of fun in the sun is just around the corner. But if you're feeling low energy, if you've put on weight and just aren't getting the gains from your workouts, if you aren't sleeping well and your libido isn't what it used to be, maybe you aren't looking forward so much to sunny days and shirtless weather. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if this sounds like you, we might very well have the answer, because you may very well be suffering from low testosterone. And that, my friend, is something that can be effectively treated to get you back to the guy you used to be. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has treated thousands of men for low T. Our treatment programs are highly effective, with most men seeing results in just a few weeks. Assuming you're like most guys, you'll sleep better, have better workouts, have higher energy, and your sex life might just improve as well. So give us a call. Just $99 gets you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
On Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus, tonight scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue. One or two of those could be on the stronger side, and continuing throughout your Tuesday morning and afternoon as well, with highs in the middle 80s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Feel refreshed and carefree this summer at Racetrack with a free strawberry apricot 12-ounce Red Bull when you buy two. Limited time only. Racetrack, whatever gets you going.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now. 615-576-5000.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donning.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Failed a drug test, and so Evan Russell, is suspended for the rest of the season. So Tennessee's going to have the whole rest of the team tested tomorrow. Or the NCAA is, so it's going to be interesting to see if that's just a one-player thing or if that is going to be throughout that whole entire program. Performance-enhancing drugs is what it was said. That's a big blow to the Vols. All the way, Tony Vitello put it. Says Evan Russell was sick.
So there are reports and speculation out what the actual issue is, but per the head coach in his post-game press conference, sick. Well, we know this, he did not play against Alabama State. Tennessee was fine, that team is loaded. And ready for a postseason run.
I'm going to tell you with 100% honesty because someone told me that it may come up in this thing, and I didn't even think about it. But for about 2 seconds today, when someone, I don't know any of the ESPN stuff. I honestly don't. If you give me $1 million and said, say what's, I know there was a lot of stuff that went going around. Well, we could pick any topic you want to with social media now. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So I'm not trying to sound like a cool guy or be disrespectful, but I honestly don't care. And a big part of that is I got my hands full here. I appreciate that our fans give me more credit than they should, and I run into people at Ollie B and say, you're killing it. No, I'm not doing anything. Drew killed the ball tonight, so I got my hands full. I wish I would have managed the game a little bit better tonight. I don't think I destroyed it, but I thought I could. So that's kind of where my energy is. So again, kind of just to put that to rest for now.
There you go. That was Tony Vitalo. I mean, he's kind of saying the same thing I'm saying. It's not a big deal. Just not a big deal. But I'm sure the text line's mad at me. What do we have?
Well, the man of the hour himself texted in, the person who sent in the fake Adam Schefter tweet. Rob texts in and says, as the guy who sent in the fake Schefter tweet about Allegra, you're way overblowing this. They mentioned, Robbie and Rexford, mentioned that some guy in the text line mentioned a Schefter tweet, and that's all they said. They didn't really talk about it.
Okay. Again, that wasn't a big deal. This isn't a big deal. It's something to laugh about. Ha ha. You got duped by Barry McCockiner. That's it. And for everybody to act like that he did a disservice, like for Clay Travis, for him to get up there and say that Evan Russell, the catcher, should sue for defamation. Like, first of all, in order to do that, and I'm not a lawyer, and he actually is, but in order to do that, you have to be trying to hurt that person. It doesn't sound like the intent was malicious on the part of Troy Eklund, the ESPN color commentator. And again, look, sometimes you get things wrong. ABC News gets things wrong. I mean, they had a caller call in on the OJ Bronco chase, which I happen to think, if we're going to sit here and weight importance of, well, so-and-so got this wrong, but, you know, the James Harden man boobs aren't that big of a deal, so it's not a big deal that Skip Bayless got this wrong. And this is wrong because this is bad. But in the OJ Bronco chase, ABC took a call from a guy who was pranking them, and then used the term Baba Booey at the end, which referenced that it was the Howard Stern show. And on live TV in 1992 or 4 or whenever it was, Al Michaels had to say, because Al Michaels listened to the Howard Stern show, Al Michaels had to say, yeah, that's a fake call. That's from the Howard Stern show. It happens.
Okay, but are we really going to compare this situation from 1992? Back in a day when there was no screening or double checking.
Oh, I think it's harder to. I think it's way harder not to get duped by misinformation today. I think it's way harder. I think it is so hard.
Also,
to not
we
get duped
we live in a time where if you want to check a fact, you can do that in 20 seconds.
Okay, fine.
You can't screen calls.
Let's go over COVID misinformation and let's see.
I'm not doing that, Jared.
But the whole point is now it's easier. Like, it's easier. I had a buddy that dated a girl from Bulgaria, and her parents guess where they got all their news from?
Where?
Facebook. And some of the things that they believed was, I mean, wild.
Well, were they reporting it on a national broadcast?
What do you think is more viewed? Like the targeted Facebook stories or the Stillwater Regional consolation game?
Does it matter?
Well,
Which one is viewed more?
You're trying to act like the national broadcast is more important than Facebook, and more people
I never said that.
That's exactly
also,
where you were going.
Does your friends, Bulgarians' girlfriends' parents, do they have a national platform where they report news?
They're not reporting, they're reading.
Okay.
That's my point. That's how misinformation gets spread. It is so much easier to get duped today
that doesn't
than
make
it was 20
any,
years ago.
Any better. that you reported false information that directly affected somebody.
I mean, you have the other guy. How did it affect him?
To say that he was suspended for PEDs when he in fact was not?
Say, hey, we're
That's
here.
wrong information. That's incorrect information.
And how did it affect him?
I don't know.
Is his day any different?
If I reported that you were arrested for something, but you weren't,
is his job any different?
Wouldn't that affect you?
Is his future any different?
I'm not going to make that assumption.
If James Harden flips on the TV and sees Skip Bayless talking about his man boobs, does that make it, again, is that not as bad because man boobs is apparently not as big of a deal as a false PED accusation?
I think that you can answer that question for yourself. That joking about man boobs is much less of a non-starter.
I don't know what Skip Bayless said. I just think that you think that, like, sitting there and saying this on a broadcast that almost nobody was watching.
You also don't know that.
We want to pull up the ratings for the Stillwater Regional?
Sure, if you'd like.
I mean, come on now. So, I name the 4 teams in the Stillwater Regional.
Auburn.
Nope. Auburn's in the Auburn Regional. You lose.
Arkansas. Don't act like that, Jared.
Nope, you lose.
You are being so unrealistic.
All right, give me the 4 teams.
Arkansas.
Okay.
Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I don't know the other ones.
There you go.
And that proves that everything he said was no big deal. And Evan Russell is fine with being accused of doing PEDs when in reality he had to take a day off.
Which the guy then clarified the other guy. And then the guy apologized.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he apologized.
And it's just not a big deal. It's just not a big deal. And I think there's like this sense of like, how dare he? And all I'm trying to say is I'm
not
happens.
saying how dare he. I'm just saying he reported something that was incorrect.
And he apologized.
And he apologized for it, yeah, which is a good thing. And I think that we can move forward with it. But to act like it was no big deal, I don't think is right.
It's not a big deal.
So now everyone can just go around reporting false information that they see on Twitter?
No, but
that
if
compromises
it's
the integrity of the broadcast.
If it's a big deal, then there should be ramifications, right? Like if you screw something up, like when you apologize, it doesn't really make a difference. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you think there should be any ramifications from this?
He apologized.
Do you think there should be a suspension?
No.
Do you think there should be a fine?
I don't think so.
Do you think there should be a firing?
No.
So it's not a big deal.
I don't think that's true.
That's how big deals
work. Just because it's not a big deal to you doesn't mean it's not a big deal.
Getting a DUI is a big deal, right?
Yes.
Like if I got a DUI, knock on wood, now I don't do those things that allow you to get DUIs, but if I got a DUI, undoubtedly I'd come on the air the next day and I would be like, I'm so sorry. Because everybody in the media that does it talks about how sorry they are and whatever. And right. Sorry might not work. Like, sorry might not cut it for me. I don't know what the decision would be. That's above my pay grade. But sorry might not work. If I got a DUI and, something bad happened to somebody else, sorry doesn't work.
So you would break the law. So yes, obviously that is a bigger deal than reporting misinformation. That's not against the law.
That's my point.
But also I would say that's against broadcast law. Is that not rule number 1? That you don't report false information?
Broadcast law?
Yeah.
Whose broadcast law?
I feel like anyone's.
Fox?
No. Okay, no. Clearly not.
Okay, so
but also that's a different platform than covering a game because you cannot just throw out false information and and then it's okay. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
A big
deal.
Then
you believe whatever you see on Twitter and you report it and you get no ramifications.
A big deal equals ramifications.
Okay, breaking the law, yes, that's a big deal. That means ramifications.
I told the story
that
earlier
means
today.
jail time. That means suspension.
I told the story
he didn't break the law.
That when Dwayne Haskins tragically passed away, I was on Mad Dog Radio hosting my show right there, and I was thinking, okay, how do I talk about somebody that I don't know, who I never covered, and still understanding the sensitivity of the moment? At the same time, Gil Brandt, who is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, was just letting it fly on NFL radio about about Dwayne Haskins. Gil Brandt's life on SiriusXM has been a lot different than my life on SiriusXM after that point. And that's because there were ramifications for that. And Gil apologized. But what he said probably deserved ramifications. That's a big deal. But when there's no ramifications, it means not a big deal. And I don't think there should have been ramifications. I don't think there should have been a punishment. And there weren't and there wasn't. So to me, that equals not a big deal. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I believe Vanderbilt right now is playing, and they are tied, or at least they were at the last look, that they were tied 2-2 in the 5th inning. Ian, is that still the score? Do we know?
They are actually, Oregon State is now winning 4-3 in the bottom of the 5th.
Look at you, just reporting false information left and right.
Oh, my God. There you go. So, good luck to them. Coming up next, Ryan Day, the head coach at Ohio State, had a take. And I got to tell you, I'm over caring about this. And I'll explain why that's next. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game. Let me tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is my official sportsbook app. The NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Bet the moneyline, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Plus, you can combine your bets for an even bigger payday with a same-game parlay. For example, I think the Celtics will get back on track in game number 3, and I think that Jaylen Brown will have a bunch of points, so bet it that way. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. If you haven't tried FanDuel, now is the perfect time to give it a shot because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the actions. Join today with promo code JGM and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. 21 and older in present Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
You watch the game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios at the 2022 Coaches versus Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic. And of course, right now, your favorite college basketball coaches are on the links out there participating in the Golf Classic, as is Sean Farnham from ESPN. And for more information on Coaches versus Cancer, which has raised over $135 million to support life-saving cancer research, go to coachesversuscancertn.com. Those are my guys. Been working with them for years. Absolutely love them. We are the media partner, by the way, of the Coaches versus Cancer event, which happened yesterday. Last night was the dinner. Today is the Golf Classic, so we're glad to be here. So, I was listening this weekend to a show called Marty and McGee, which was on ESPN Radio on 102.5 The Game over the weekend. And they were talking about what Ryan Day had to say about NIL. Now, let me say this. If you're a diehard college fan of an individual college school, you probably have a feeling about NIL based upon your school's use of it. So if you're a diehard Texas A&M fan, you probably love it. Why? Because you're getting the best recruiting class ever. And that's good. And so Ryan Day, unlike a lot of these coaches that have just cried and moaned and complained and everything else, I'll give Ryan Day a little bit of credit. He didn't complain about it as much as the other guys, like Saban or Dabo Sweeney or you name it. He didn't complain that much. Ryan Day says that Ohio State needs $13 million a year in NIL money. He said, quote, if the speed limit is 45 miles per hour and you drive 45 miles per hour, a lot of people are going to pass you by. If you go too fast, you're going to get pulled over. Day estimated that Ohio State would need about $2 million to convince top-shelf quarterback recruits to take their talents to Columbus. Per day, elite pass rushers and offensive linemen are about $1 million. Quote, one phone call and they're out the door. We cannot let that happen at Ohio State. I'm not trying to sound the alarm. I'm just trying to be transparent about what we're dealing with. So what this has become now, and Nick Saban, this is what got the whole Saban-Jimbo thing started, was he was talking about how, look at what A&M's doing. We got to start doing that in order to compete. My response to that is good. Like, I hear the NIL stuff. All I hear are these coaches that have been successful doing it the other way, that on some level or another, there's a little bit of complaining involved. And
well,
even
of course
though,
they're complaining because it's exactly what you said. They succeeded without NIL.
Yeah.
So now Nick Saban, who is upset with NIL, is upset that now Jimbo and every other team in the SEC has evened the playing field because they got money.
But here's my thing about this, and that is that I don't care. And I don't think the fans care. I mean, if you're an Alabama fan, Saban told you what you care about, so you care about what Saban cares about. Ohio State can't get $13 million. Ohio State's going to play Michigan on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Fox is going to pump this up like it's an unbelievable weekend. They have the Cowboys on Thursday. They have USA England on Friday. They have Michigan Ohio State on Saturday. And I think they have something like Tampa Bay, Kansas City on Sunday. I mean, and they're basically going to pump up how many people watch that weekend. That Ohio State-Michigan game is probably going to draw, I don't know what, 15, 18 million viewers. The NBA Finals drew 11 million. Really 12 million. You know how much money Steph Curry makes? $45 million a year. So the NBA's got all this money because they have high viewership. Guess who's got high viewership? The Big Ten. Guess who specifically has high viewership in the Big Ten?
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
But the money's not coming from Ohio State.
No, but the money.
It can't come from Ohio State.
But to get the money, they can get the money. All that's happening right now is where the booster money is going is just going somewhere different. In years past, the booster money allowed the coaches to recruit with private planes, or it allowed them to construct a waterfall in the locker room, or it allowed them to have a barber shop. in the locker room or things like that. And everybody wanted to have the best facilities because having the best facilities was the way to get recruits. You have any idea who has the best facility in the NFL for the players to practice at?
No.
I have no idea either.
And it doesn't matter.
You know why?
It's not about the facilities.
Players don't care. They don't care. It's like, all right, you can pay me $9 million. Tampa can pay me $7 million.
Because it's all about
so
money.
I'm going to go there.
Now, facilities in college, that was the only way that they could recruit players.
And so now the money that you get for that, just those boosters take their money and they go to the collective, and then the collective gives the money to the players, and then you get the players. So I don't have a problem with this. And I
don't think that was a complaint from Ryan Day. I think that was a nudge to the boosters that, hey, this is how much money we need.
That was the point of what Nick Saban was trying to say. That was Saban's whole point. Saban's whole point was we got to start doing what A&M's doing. And then Jimbo flew off the handle about it. And so I'll be honest with you. Like, to me, I don't care. I don't care how much money Ohio State has to raise. I don't care how Ohio State has to get it to the recruits. But this idea, when I was listening to Marty and McGee, it was like, these coaches just don't understand anymore. They can't believe the fact that the college players will be driving Ferraris. And I know that's not true. Because
this is nothing new.
I know these guys have bought players before.
This is nothing new.
I know, look, I know these guys, and I'm not calling any one individual out. I know these guys have bought players before.
It just makes it easier.
So I think the thing that gets me all worked up is everybody's acting like there should be rules on NIL, and everybody has their own opinion of what the rules of NIL should be. And I'm like, this is the whole great part about this. There are no rules. There can't be rules. You can't do it. The Supreme Court won't let you. And so a 9-0 ruling said that you can't just not pay the players. Now, they didn't say that the players are allowed to get paid for their athletic performance, which is like an interesting little line there. But there was a line. I talked to somebody in the SEC. And you know what? I'll hold that on the other side. Because I did talk to somebody in the SEC, and a lot of people think there needs to be regulations surrounding NIL and things like that. I'm going to tell you why there's not going to be. And it was someone I talked to. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Thanks, everyone, for baking your way here on this toasty morning. Are you all ready to jam? Excellent. Before we get rolling, let's start by hashing out everything bagel will be discussing. Profit margins are okay, but they could maybe be butter. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle. Next quarter, it's all or muffin. Did you have a question, Sausage Patty?
My name's Patricia.
When you can't take your mind off breakfast, it matters where you stay. Delicious breakfast available at our Hilton family of brands. Hilton, for the stay.
It's on, it's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I didn't really say that anybody did anything wrong.
You said they bought their recruiting class.
I didn't say anybody did anything wrong. Okay, and I've said everything I'm going to say about this. But, I think that, I guess the point, and I should have never mentioned any individual institutions. I said that before. But, some kind of uniform name, image, and likeness, standard that supports some kind of equitable national competition, I think is really, really important in college athletics, in college football. And we've always had that, whether it's equal scholarships, equal Alston money, whatever it might be. And so that's kind of point one. Point two is we need some kind of transparency in name, image, and likeness deals, to verify that, players are doing what they need to do to have the opportunity to, make money in name, image, and likeness. And believe me, I'm all for players making as much as they can make. Okay? But I also think that, we've got to have some uniform, transparent way to do that.
There you go. That was Nick Saban. And the truth of the matter is, Nick Saban wants a salary cap. That's what he wants. He wants a salary cap for college football. And when he says, we need to have some uniform national NIL, he's saying we need a salary cap.
Probably essentially, but each state has different laws pertaining to NIL. And I don't know exactly what that means and exactly what the laws are. I don't know how Tennessee differs from Arkansas, differs from Florida. I don't know.
Some states don't even actually allow it.
Some states don't allow it?
Yeah, like some states don't allow online gambling, for instance.
Uh-huh.
Some sports don't, or some states won't let you do it. But most states do. And that's what he was referring to with the transparency is I talked to a compliance director a couple of months ago who was like, yeah, these kids get stuff, they don't even report it anymore. And there's no way to track.
Why would they?
There's no way to track. Was that name, image, and likeness? Was that,
No, because once you start getting paid, there's no way. It's really, really difficult to track where that money comes from. Now, in the past, when you couldn't get paid, if there was any sort of financial transaction, that shows foul play. But now that you're getting paid, you cannot prove where that money comes from, how it was funded, was it NIL, or so on and so forth.
So I talked to somebody, and remember when Saban and Jimbo got into it and Greg Sankey released a statement that was basically like, I've reprimanded Saban, I've reprimanded Jimbo, and this is over, and we need to go to the spring meetings in Destin, and we need to get together, and we need to talk about ways in which we can make NIL work for everybody. You know what they did when they went to Destin?
They talked about the schedule.
They talked about, you want to play 8 conference games or you want to play 9 conference games? You want to know why they talked about the schedule? Because they know there's nothing they can do about NIL. And I talked to somebody last night about this because I got to be honest with you. I'm tired of hearing about it. And I'm tired of hearing like people cry about it or, well, they got this. And again, as Saban said, I want some uniform system that, yes, that is a salary cap. Do you know how the NFL has a salary cap? Do you know how the NHL has a salary cap? You know how baseball has a luxury tax, how basketball has a salary cap?
Collective bargaining agreement.
Bingo! Well, you can't collectively bargain with 17-year-olds. And so here's what somebody told me who's a suit in college athletics and said that no conference is willing to go up and present, hey, here are our regulations. And the NCAA is not willing to present and say, here are our regulations, and here's why. A specific line from Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice, in the 9-0 decision, quote, nowhere else in America, so this is him who wrote it, nowhere else in America can businesses get away with agreeing not to pay their workers a fair market rate on the theory that their product is defined by not paying their workers a fair market rate? The NCAA is not above the law. So basically, his argument there is you can't say, hey, I know that pass rusher can get $6 million to go to another college, but we're going to implement these uniform rules without them agreeing to them that limits what he can get paid. Brett Kavanaugh is telling you that's against the law.
Brett Kavanaugh doesn't care about recruiting.
Doesn't care about recruiting. I mean, I don't know what he cares about, what he doesn't care about, but I know that in that decision, he's telling you that the NCAA and the SEC and all these people, Saban wants a salary cap. And he wants a salary cap because if he can get $20 million in NIL money and A&M can get $20 in NIL money, he probably thinks that he can beat them with that. If A&M is getting $100 million in NIL money and Saban's getting $5 million in NIL money, he knows he can't compete with that. And so what he's asking for is he wants there to be regulation, but there's no way to actually do it unless you can get players to collectively bargain their rights away. And it's really, 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 really hard to get. How many student athletes are there across the country, across all these sports?
Thousands.
I mean, probably hundreds of thousands. To get hundreds of thousands of students to collectively bargain their rights away at 17, 18 years old, it's just not feasible. It's not a league that already has a collective bargaining agreement that has, you're trying to get the players would have to unionize. And then when they unionize, you'd then have to collectively bargain with the union. And the problem with that is that why would I unionize if the reason for me to unionize is so that you can lower,
you can take my rights,
you can cap away the amount of money that I'm getting paid? Why would you do that? Yeah, and the reason that the colleges right now have no ability to collectively bargain is because they're not sharing their TV money with their players. The NFL shares their TV money and their revenue with the players. Hockey, basketball, football, the pro sports, it's all the same. And so there's no way, like all these coaches are getting up there. And I laugh at this because in the NFL, nobody cares what the coaches think. When they did the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, nobody cared. They took away all these off-season practices and two-a-days and things like that. And these old coaches would go up to their owners and say, I mean, how can we get better at football when we don't have any time to practice football in the off-season and training camp? And the owners were like, yeah, deal with it. And we've dealt with it. Football's not the same. It's not as physical as it was. The line play's not the same. You know, it's just not the same. And nobody seemed to care. With this, you got the coaches. The coaches are the biggest stars. Nobody cares about the university president. So the coaches are the stars here, and the coaches are complaining about it publicly, and they're smart enough to know there's nothing they can do about it. Like, they know. Like, Ryan Day knows there's nothing you can do about it except go raise more money.
And if you want to continue to complain about it, then recruits will see what you say, and they say, okay, well, Dabo, for example. Dabo has been so outspoken about how much he hates NIL. Well, if I'm a 17-year-old kid and I'm getting offers from Clemson, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Jimbo has come out and said, we will gladly set you up with any NIL deal that you might earn, and we fully embrace it. Well, I'm going where they fully embrace it, rather where Dabo is saying, I don't want to be in a league where the players are getting
That's
paid.
why I thought Saban did Jimbo a solid. You know that feeling like when somebody says something to you and it rubs you the wrong way and you just get so mad and 8 hours later you're like, that wasn't that bad.
And also, you made yourself look worse saying that than you made me look worse.
Oh, Jimbo looked like an idiot. But that's probably because I think in large part Jimbo probably is an idiot. But as far as, again, like what he said, I mean, the Jimbo call out, just the press conference in which he really didn't go there. Like, I've lost a lot of respect for Jimbo Fisher over the press conference and the fact that he wasn't willing to go out there and the fact that the commissioner muzzled him so quickly and those kind of things. Like, I kind of think he's soft. But going back to the whole principle, Nick Saban got up there and said, A&M bought every single one of those players that they have. Well, that's actually good. That's good.
If I'm a recruiter, I'm like, really?
Want to know, they got the
dollar
money?
signs?
That's where they got the money. Let me call them. That's exactly what, I mean, and so again, the NCAA and the SEC, they can talk tough about, we need to have some sort of uniform system, and that's a salary cap. How do you get a salary cap? You collectively bargain. How do you collectively bargain? They have to form a union. How do you get them to form a union? That's a whole big thing. And if you're collectively bargaining, and let's say I'm the college association players, and in order to be a college association player, you have to be in the union in order to be featured in the video games or to be able to get the medical plan or things like that, which, again, medical plans don't matter in America to people who are between the ages of 17 and 24. It doesn't matter. They don't need health care. And so those little things, like, how do you do that? Well, they're going to want your TV money. Like, that's what, how much money did you make from the basketball tournament? How much money did the SEC's new package with ESPN cost? Yeah, we want a cut of that. Oh, well, I mean, wait, we don't want that. Oh, you don't. Coach K made, what, like $10 million last year?
I think so.
Yeah, Coach K ain't making $10 million if they got to give away the TV money or they got to give half of it to the players. He's just not making $10 million. And so what I think's happened is I think a lot of coaches that have had a lot of control for a long time are losing their control, and that's what they're worked up about. What do we have in our text line? Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Tom texts into the text line and says, how would that work for players making money to NIL and taxes?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that you would probably have to report it on your taxes. But
I paid taxes when I was younger. I barely remember how it worked. I mean, the same way you pay your taxes, right? Like, somebody sends you a 1099 and you send that in, and I'm sure that, part of the thing that I would want to do if I was trying to get people to come to my school because of recruiting money is I would say, hey, like, we've got a CPA here that will help you do this, turn in those forms to this guy, and they'll get you taken care of right here. And then obviously you have to pay the guy. But, I mean, again, it's the same as you get paid. It's the same. At the end of the year, they send you a form. You send the form in. You pay the taxes. What's next?
Well, and also to that point, in terms of, a blanket ruling for NIL across the entire country is, I guess Tennessee, Vanderbilt, they could look at it like, if you have to report NIL money to your taxes, then why doesn't Tennessee and Vanderbilt, I don't know if they do or don't, use that as a recruiting tool? So you won't pay taxes on your NIL money.
I would agree.
Maybe that's what Nick Saban is bargaining for, that taxes across the board in terms of NIL money will be the same, because you may look at it as an improper recruiting benefit for Tennessee or Florida or states without income tax.
And this is why I don't care about the crying, because Nick Saban, as powerful of a college football coach as he is not going to essentially wreck federalism. Like, that's not in the cards.
No.
The idea of, hey, I think that our tax structure in this state, we should make it uniform for all 50 states.
But not tax structure
That's
in the state, but tax structure in NIL. And I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's above Saban's pay grade.
That's an element of this that I honestly haven't thought of.
That is legitimate legislation. Like, that is a process. All of this is a process, but that is a process. What else we got?
Another texter checks in and says Jimbo should have just let Saban just said what he said and been quiet about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Jimbo screwed up. And I feel bad for Jimbo because I think Jimbo looks like a loser. And now he has to go win on the football field, or else if he loses on the football field, I mean, he's going to get the business for the way that he acted. But again, I'm over caring about the NIL, and I'm over caring about this college coach.
And also, at the end of the day, between those two schools, it comes down to October 8th, and that's when they play.
Let me ask this question.
Nothing else matters.
Who cares if the quarterback drives a Ferrari? I don't.
The quarterbacks of the past have probably driven Ferraris and had Louis Vuitton luggage and had really nice things because they were getting paid. Now you just know about it.
Who cares? Do you care? I don't care. Who cares? And that's the problem. 615-737-1025. Pro Football Focus has their list of NFL coaches. And maybe I'm a homer. I don't know. But where Vrabel is, wow. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game. Caroline, tell us about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, if you haven't started with Caesars yet, well, then guess what? Your first bet is risk-free up to $1,500. Pretty good deal there with Caesars Sportsbook. Download the app and use the promo code RADIO15 and then place your first bet. If you win, then good for you. But if not, no worries. You'll get that stake back as a free bet. Now, if you're looking for something to put that first bet on, you could look at some NFL Super Bowl futures. Got some fallers here in the Caesars Sportsbook app. 67% of the odds for the Eagles Super Bowl odds have fallen. So a lot of articles that we've looked at have said the Eagles have improved the most in the offseason, but the sports books in terms of Super Bowl odds have said maybe the exact opposite. But hey, that's just what the sports books are saying. You can also look at all the risers and fallers on the Caesars Sportsbook app, so make sure to take a look. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must use it in 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Want the latest on the Predators from the people that cover them?
Heck of a year so far for the Predators. They've been so much fun to watch.
Join Robbie Stanley for Preds Insiders every Monday at 6.
I feel probably as good about this group of 6 on D.
Presented by Dr. Kelly Rice on Smashville's Best Sports Talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Attention all foremen with 3 years experience. Harness LLC is your local excavation and site utilities company. We're growing and we need 5 foremen to grow with us. This is Ray Jeter with Harness LLC. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Go to selectharness.com to apply today. The 5 foremen we hire will receive 100% paid health coverage, vacation, and up to $6,000 sign-on bonus. Go to selectharness.com and apply today. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. He scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, in the Game Nashville app.
Vrabel
immediately came to your defense the next time he was in front of us. Did you have any conversation with him in the aftermath, or did he reach out to you at all?
Yeah, we talked briefly. I just kind of went to him. I was like, wow, that escalated quickly. And he's like, yeah, he said, I thought you handled yourself really well, and was very encouraging and supportive of the entire press conference. So, great to have his support. I mean, he understood. He knows who I am and what I'm about and what I meant when I said that. And, I think everyone in this building, I had great support from everyone in this building through the whole process. Coming in the building, guys were supporting me, and they know what I'm about and the kind of person I am. So that's what helped me sleep at night. Just knowing that I had support from my teammates and people in the building, because they know what I'm about and how I carry myself, and we're supportive through the process. So it's good to have that.
There you go, Tannehill. He loves Vrabel, I guess. So hey, he supported me. He had my back through the process. Now, maybe I'm a local Bobo, and I try not to be this way, but I have said on record I do believe that, and every time I say this, normally when I make like a pretty earth-shattering take, but like a very, normally I'm like,
bold.
I think they should. And every time I talk about this take, I'm always kind of notice myself lowering my voice a little bit. Like, I think Vrabel's the best coach in the league. If you said, okay, right now you can have any coach, which coach do you have? I could go through like the difference between him and McVay. Or
Shanahan.
Yeah, but
Belichick.
But I think Vrabel's the best coach. I do. And Pro Football Focus, and this is why I don't like the analytic geeks, because they make up numbers to try to like prove a point, and then you look.
Well, to be fair, you make up a lot of scenarios to prove your points.
I don't take fake numbers and stats and say, according to the coaxialar G5X6753, this coach's rating is better than whatever, and it's some ridiculous thing that doesn't make any sense.
But you do make up a lot of hypothetical scenarios to prove your point, even if it doesn't really fit. Like you comparing a DUI to misspeaking on a broadcast or to reporting false information on a broadcast.
DUIs happen.
Yes, and they're also against the law.
And the level of severity for that is a lot higher than that of
because that is
a broadcast.
Against the law.
Which was the point I was making.
Yes, but that it's not a fair comparison because one is against the law and one isn't. So you can't compare them.
I said one is a big deal and one is not.
One is a big deal because it's against the law.
Okay.
The other is a big deal because it's against broadcast journalism ethics.
Let's compare this to...
You can't compare murdering someone to running a stop sign.
No, why not? They're both against the law.
Because that's murdering something and that's running a stop sign.
And the murder's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the stop sign's not.
Unless you murder someone doing it.
But one's against the law.
They're both against the law, yeah.
And so is the other one.
Yeah.
And one is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the other is not.
It depends. You're still going to get a ticket.
Do you think that I would have to have a sit-down meeting with our bosses if I got pulled over for running a stop sign?
Probably not, no.
Do you think I'd have to come on the air at 2 o'clock and apologize if I got a ticket for running a stop sign?
Probably not.
Okay, so it's really, really, really not a big deal.
Probably not.
Okay. Let's say I got busted for marijuana possession, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Jared Stillman gets arrested for, I don't know, when I was coming back from Jamaica.
Your trip to Jamaica really left an impression on you.
Well, I'm just using this as an example because 10 years ago, that would have been a really big deal. And now I don't think it is.
If you were caught smuggling marijuana, I think that would still be a big deal.
When I was going through the airport in Jamaica, they had like hey, here, if you are, it literally said there was a board. And it said, if you are traveling with spices, here is the amount of spices you're allowed to travel with.
You just wanted some cumin.
So I saw this, and again, I wasn't taking anything with me. But the point I was making was that, clearly, like, Jamaica's telling you, like, hey, you can get past this much weed in the airport. But, again, going back to this, if I got caught with marijuana possession, like Jared Stillman got pulled over and he ran a stop sign and he had a little bit of marijuana in his car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is totally hypothetical and not something that happens, but I'm using this to prove my point. If that were the case, think I'd get fired?
Probably.
Oh, I don't think so.
If you were caught with marijuana in your car?
I think that 20 years ago, 100%. 10 years ago, probably. Nowadays, I just think it's so wildly accepted that it's just not that big of a deal anymore to people. Now, if it was like marijuana with intent to sell, then probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you're pulled over with a couple pounds, then that's a different case than, some dirt pot that you got on the street.
I mean, so that's my whole point is that
But I'm saying you comparing a DUI to misreporting information on the air isn't a fair comparison. Saying that one is a big deal and one isn't because you're comparing the two.
I know
that's
but
not a fair comparison.
You accuse me of making those things up as if they don't exist.
I'm accusing you of using situations that are so hyperbolic that to make the other thing not look like a big deal. Because, when you compare one thing to another thing, maybe it's not a big deal. But that doesn't mean as an isolated incident, it's not a big deal.
Well, we were talking about punishment for a broadcaster. If you missed this happened last hour. We were talking about punishment for a broadcaster. And if a broadcaster were to get a DUI, that is a much more serious offense than what happened in the I don't even know what the game was, but what happened about the Tennessee catcher, where the guy said that he got popped for PEDs and then later apologized for it because he obviously didn't. And my point is, all I was saying was that that's not a big deal. And again, the lack of repercussions from that, in my opinion, proved that it's not a big deal. The guy didn't get suspended. The guy didn't get fired. I don't assume they cut his pay. I mean, to me, that proves it's not a big deal.
Can I tell a story?
I mean, you're getting us off topic on the Vrabel thing, but go ahead.
In 7th grade, I was strangled by somebody walking back from gym class. This is a true story. I was walking back from gym class, walking to the locker room. A girl put her arm around me and put her hand over my face and said, "I'm going to do this until you stop breathing." So, went to the principal's office, whatever, so on and so forth. She didn't get any sort of punishment from the principal. Does that mean that that's not a big deal because she tried to strangle me?
It's not a big deal to the principal.
It is very much so a big deal, enough so that I'm 24 years old. This is, 12 years later, and I'm still scarred from it. It's still a big deal.
I'm not saying it wasn't a big deal to you. I'm saying it's not a big deal to the principal.
But that doesn't mean it's not a big deal. Misreporting information on a broadcast is a big deal, whether you want to believe it or not.
Then is it a big deal that Skip Bayless took a Barry McCockiner quote, or that Stephen A. Smith referenced a Ballsack sports report, or that Joe and Robbie took a phone call about John Hines getting a 6-year deal and openly discussed it?
But the severity of the subject is so different.
But again,
because if you wanted to say, Tony Vitello's favorite food is hot dogs, but it's really pizza, I don't think that's a big deal.
That's reporting misinformation. But again, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And if it was a big deal, then people would have called for action. And other than Danny White, the athletic director at Tennessee,
people were calling for action.
Other than him tweeting out wanting an apology from ESPN, there was really nothing. And you heard Tony Vitello talk about, I have no idea what it is and I don't really care.
Well, of course he's going to say that.
But that's what he said. And my point, going back to your strangling thing, is, let me guess, when that girl got in no trouble, your parents were pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a big deal to them. And so
yes, I was assaulted.
The principal can say, I take this seriously, that's a big deal. But he obviously didn't, or she obviously didn't. She didn't. And I'm not one to sit here and talk to you about it 20 years later, put my arm around and say it'll be okay or whatever. But obviously wasn't a big deal to the principal. And, I mean, I think that's what has a lot of people angered about Deshaun Watson. And because Cleveland sits there and says, this is serious to us, but then they do what they do, and they give him a $230 million fully guaranteed deal, and you're saying that, it's not a big deal. That's why the NFL, I think, is going to drop the hammer on Watson, because they do think it's a big deal. And so this gets me off track, but again, I mean,
I'm sorry to take us on this detour.
I don't think that, going back to the initial thing, again, I don't think that what I said was made up. And this stuff is made up. Like the average offensive and defensive ranks, points per season, whatever. And their list, number 1, Bill Belichick. I can live with that. This is Pro Football Focus's list of the top coaches in the NFL. Number 1, Bill Belichick. Number 2, John Harbaugh. Again, not my cup of tea. Works fine.
But you can make the argument.
Number 3, Andy Reid. Then they have another tier. Good coaches. Number 4, Cliff Kingsbury at Arizona.
That's where I have a problem.
Number 5, Pete Carroll.
That's fine.
Number 6, Matt LaFleur. I mean, again. And again, they have this made-up record with average roster. So they think that Matt LaFleur is 9-8 or 7-2 with an average roster. 7, Kyle Shanahan, which I don't totally understand. I think he should be higher. 8, Mike Vrabel. 9, Frank Reich. So they're saying that,
10 is a doozy.
So they're saying that Cliff Kingsbury, who, according to them, is 10-7 with it, according to their information, is 10-7 with an average roster. They're saying that Cliff Kingsbury is a better coach than Mike Vrabel, who is 9.7 and 7.3 with an average roster. And I don't need to see whatever explanation you have. I don't need to see any of that, other than to say that this is a bullcrap list, other than to say that this is why you can't trust Pro Football Focus. And this is why, for the most part, outside of Sunday Night Football, which has kind of a vested interest in Pro Football Focus because Collinsworth owns Pro Football Focus and he does Sunday Night Football, that whenever you come to me and you tell me something about, this player is ranked XYZ by Pro Football Focus, I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass. Why? Because they say that Cliff Kingsbury is not only a better coach than Mike Vrabel. They say Cliff Kingsbury is a better coach than Pete Carroll. They say Cliff Kingsbury is a better coach than Kyle Shanahan. And that's just not true. And they write, here's the funny part. Their explanation, quote, outside of quarterback Kyler Murray and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, Kingsbury has not had much to work with in terms of offensive talent in the desert. Stop. Has a Pro Bowl center in Rodney Hudson. He had Christian Kirk, who just signed for, I think, $72 million, but I don't know the exact amount of money he signed for, but signed for a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He's had A.J. Green, who's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. And
Chandler
I know
Jones.
An old man. Isn't it Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones is on Green Bay.
Chandler Jones.
Well, that's defense.
But still,
but again,
defensive rank is in here as well.
Yeah, but their point was talking about offense. So he's had all these guys on offense. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, no crap outside of the quarterback and the receiver. So he had the number 1 pick at quarterback, and he's got a top 3 receiver in the NFL. And it's supposed to say, well, let's not count Christian Kirk. Let's not count Zach Ertz. Let's not count Rodney Hudson. Let's not count the guys that he's had on offense that are also pretty good. And let's not kind of know the fact that in a salary cap league, every offense has 1 or 2 good players, and then the rest of them are all just whatever. They're all just Nate Davis. They're just, okay, fine. I mean, Vrabel's had Tannehill at quarterback. They'd say, well, without Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, right. But that's the case with everybody. The one I look at on this list who's ahead of Vrabel that I would say, let's take away one of his players would be Matt LaFleur. And let's see how he does. Now, we're taking away one of his players this year. But I'm talking about in general. You cannot convince me that there's any argument to make outside of just like pure overall longevity, because Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl, and you could say, well, Harbaugh, Carroll, Tomlin, Belichick, they've all won Super Bowls, McVay, so go ahead and put them ahead. But you can't convince me that Vrabel's not a top 5 coach in the league. And if you're going to try to argue that he's the 8th best coach in the league, you better not bring Cliff Kingsbury at 4 in order to make your point. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. To your phones next. 615-737-1025 live from the Tennessee, live from the Coaches versus Cancer Golf Classic here out at the Tennessee Golf Course. Again, that's coachesversuscancertn.com. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
On Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus, tonight scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue. 1 or 2 of those could be on the stronger side, and continuing throughout your Tuesday morning and afternoon as well, with highs in the middle 80s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
Signs First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic All-American Sports Bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, we are live at the Coaches versus Cancer Tennessee Golf Classic. Again, every year, your favorite Tennessee basketball coaches get together to raise money, and they've got the golf tournament and the dinner, which was last night. And over the years, Coaches versus Cancer has raised $135 million to support life-saving cancer research. And to make a donation or to help support the 2022 Coaches versus Cancer Golf Classic, or to find out more information on how to get involved in 2023, please visit coachesversuscancertn.com. What do we have in our text line? Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com.
One texter texts in and says, is Andy Reid that good of a coach, or is Patrick Mahomes his quarterback?
So, I mean, I think with Andy Reid, you can make it depends on what side of the table you're arguing on. Who would I rather have coach my team? I'd rather have Vrabel coach my team. I don't think Andy Reid has a lot of control of his team. Then again, Vrabel's, who knows who's going to show up tomorrow to OTAs. But, I mean, Andy Reid, it's amazing when you look at the all-time wins. Like, he's passed Curly Lambeau for wins. So you can make an argument either way. My thing about Vrabel is this, right? Like, I feel like if you're looking for resume, then guys like Harbaugh, Tomlin, Reid, they'll all have better resumes, Belichick. Than Vrabel. Right, go back to the Vrabel versus Belichick argument. Right now, I take Vrabel. He's younger. I think he connects with the players better. I think, honestly, as not forthcoming as he may be with the media, Belichick might actually be worse. Nobody knows who's calling plays for the Patriots offense this year. And so I say all of this to say that, I mean, maybe I'm just a local homer when it comes to Vrabel. And it's hard because I don't think anybody in town openly questions his coaching as much as I do. On a game in and game out basis. And I could be wrong, but I literally take little decisions, even in wins, and go freaking haywire if I think they're bad decisions. And I'm still not happy that he went for 2 in the Bengals game. After they scored the touchdown, they tried to run the ball with Derrick Henry from the 1-inch line when Cincinnati knew exactly what player they were rolling. I did not like that. But I still think he's the best coach in the league. I think he does more with less, whereas I think Matt LaFleur does less with more. He's got a great quarterback, and for some reason they don't win enough in the playoffs. What else we got?
Another texter checks in and kind of along those same lines and says, I would take Belichick of the past, but Vrabel right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, Vrabel's been coaching for 4 years, and the best they've done is 12-5 last year, and they got bounced in the first round. Bill Belichick has 6 Super Bowls. What's going to be weird about Belichick is, will people look at Belichick, because I don't think he's going to win the Super Bowl without Brady, and are they going to say, well, he just did this because he had Tom Brady, and then not give him credit for having been the reason that they acquired Tom Brady? And I think the answer is no. I think we'll look at him the same way we look at we'll look at Brady the way we look at Michael Jordan 20 years from now, and we'll look at Belichick the way we look at Phil Jackson. And maybe even better, maybe the way we look at John Wooden will probably be the way that we look at Belichick. I do just want to note this. For those of you out there, college baseball right now, Vanderbilt is playing a gotta-have-it game, and they're in the top of the 7th, and they're down 6-5 to Oregon State. And if they win, they would play in the Auburn Regional, and if they lose, they're out. So that, or the Auburn Super Regional, so that's kind of where Vanderbilt is on that front. That's going to do it for us. I mean, I can't see people sitting there just well, never mind. That's going to do it for us. We are out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at 2. Titans have OTAs. Meanwhile, big one tonight, Colorado and Edmonton. Colorado looking for the sweep. Max Hers is coming up next. He's got the 6. Stillman and Company.